Thank you for coming. Oh, should put on my. So how? Be like. There we go. Hi, thank you for coming to the workshop tonight. Tuesday, March 10th, 2026. Whoop, let go. March 10th, 2026 at 5 p.m. Our meeting location is at 24 Main Street, Gray, Maine. You can join the meeting through Teams in the above link if you're online, or if you, it's graymaine.link/tc-workshop. You can call in as well at 469-708-0487, and the meeting ID is 508-326-788. #. I'm going to call to order. I will start from my right to left. Ken.
Present.
Vince.
Present.
Ann.
Present.
And myself, Mike Johnson. And Charity had some emergencies going on, and she will try to make it later. So we're going to start with the manager's fiscal year 2027 budget presentation.
Thank you, Chair Johnson and honorable members of the Town Council for the opportunity to present our proposed fiscal year 2027 municipal budget for the Town Council's review and consideration. The budget represents my first opportunity as interim town manager to lead the development of a comprehensive municipal budget for Gray, working closely with department heads and staff to ensure that it does reflect the community's priorities, its operational needs, and long-term financial health. The FY27 budget is grounded in a careful evaluation of current municipal operations, service demands, and the town's overall financial position. While this work has provided valuable insight into how the organization functions and where opportunities for improvements exist, it has also reinforced the importance of maintaining achievable, responsible goals. And as such, this budget continues to emphasize financial accountability, sustainability, and thoughtful planning while laying a stable foundation for the future. We do, however, have rising operating costs, that's no surprise, ongoing community growth, and the need to stabilize key non-property tax revenue sources, such as state revenue sharing and motor vehicle excise tax, and yet maintain central considerations in this budget. Accordingly, the proposed FY27 budget is largely based on a current services approach with targeted and minimal increases designed to maintain essential municipal services and meet statutory and operational obligations. The administration remains mindful of the financial pressures facing residents and businesses, and therefore households continue to experience higher costs for housing, food, fuel, energy, and other essentials. While many businesses are still navigating a challenging and evolving economic environment. With these realities in mind, the FY27 budget has been developed to be both fiscally responsible and responsive, balancing the delivery of essential services with sensitivity to the impact on taxpayers. Overall, the proposed budget reflects a disciplined approach to managing public resources, supporting the day-to-day operations of the town, and positioning Gray to meet future challenges with stability and resilience. We're going to get into the details, but the municipal budget reflects continued investment in maintaining core services while managing ongoing cost pressures and stabilizing long-term financial operations. Other cost drivers addressed in the FY27 budget include increases in employee benefits, insurance coverage, utilities, essential operating services. It also includes a substantial increase in the water district assessment for rates and a substantial increase in the Cumberland County taxes. On the revenue side, the town's primary municipal revenue sources continue to stabilize, that you're going to also see a very conservative estimate for revenues to reflect the average for the last 3 to 5 years. Property tax supported revenues are supplemented by excise taxes, state revenue sharing, fees, and interest earnings, which together support the overall municipal budget. While growth in these revenues remain modest, They provide a more predictable foundation than in prior fiscal years. The use of the fund balance continues to be used as a transitional tool to support a balanced budget with a continued goal of gradual reduction over time. You will also hear from our finance director, Justine Hutchings, who will let you know our current state of affairs with that particular item. The school budget is still under development. It has development, so we're using a 3% placeholder, knowing full well that that's not where it's going to come in at, but you will see that that's what we're using. Talk to you briefly about the county tax needs, and we'll hear from County Manager Jim Gailey and one of his trustees, and I can't remember your name. Tom Tyler, and they will be presenting shortly. So in summary, we're going to walk you through this, but it reflects a very modest increase in expenditures, reflecting also I wouldn't say significant, but a decrease in revenues, which combined comes up to obviously an increase. And you'll see that we're shifting some of the capital into expenditures to be covered out of the TIF districts. So at this point, before I get started, any questions before I start rolling through the budget presentation?
The only question I have, Denise, is that are you going to talk about at some point why there's a decrease in revenue?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep. And if I can't answer the questions, I have Justine and Debbie here to help along.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions from anybody, staff, audience, or whatever? Just a quick briefing on the process. We're going to be making the presentation. Department heads will be doing their individual presentations. And at the end of their presentations, council will be able to ask questions. And then at the end of the evening, we will gather questions from the public, hopefully be able to answer them today. But if we can't, we'll have the answers at the next meeting. All right.
Denise, one thing I was thinking, and I think we talked about it earlier, it would be great if we could collect all the questions and maybe post them with the answers online, because other people have them. So
Sure.
Would that be something that we could do? Okay.
Yeah. And Britt will be managing that. So.
Excellent.
So the overview on key pressures on the structural service and cost challenges, personnel and benefits remain the largest cost driver. It's no surprise. That happens everywhere. And it does limit our budget flexibility. We have fixed operating expenses that reduce the capacity to absorb unplanned needs. Last year, we all know that we went into it with an extremely conservative budget, and we also had inflated revenues. So between the two, it's been an impact that we are currently suffering. Higher intensity election year introduces cost variability despite advanced planning. Our capital and infrastructure needs continue across public safety, public works and facilities, and our growing service demand without proportional staffing or service expansion does increase our operational strain. What this budget does well, it maintains stable service delivery across all departments with no proposed service level reductions at this point. Proactive planning for known obligations, including elections and capital maintenance, targeted capital investments focused on asset protection and operational reliability, and clear, well-documented budget structure supporting transparency and council oversight. So in the facilities, equipment, infrastructure area, the emphasis on capital maintenance and replacement over the reactive repairs is what we're focusing on. We want to address aging facilities and systems, i.e. HVAC, accessibility, security, planned investments that support long-term asset protection in public safety, public works and facilities, and positions the town to reduce future emergency costs and service disruptions. So what is it designed to achieve? We want to preserve service continuity and operational stability, clearly identify our cost drivers, our trends, and our departmental needs, plan responsibly for staffing, benefits, and capital obligations, and to balance our fiscal responsibility with reliable municipal operations. So positioning ourselves.
Can we get that on this?
Get what?
What she's reading.
So IT, we need to be able to mirror what the TVs
Yeah,
are showing.
yeah, on that.
Yeah,
onto the
because we're
TV.
just looking at us
Yeah.
while looking at.
Do you-
So I'm gonna-
so
Yeah.
council can view it. All right. So,
Sorry, Kyle, these two things, can we have those show on that screen?
Let me work on that.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect,
thank
fair
you.
enough.
You want me to turn this one towards you?
It'd be great if we could see this one, because it's right there in front of us, but, yeah.
This one's actually.
Oh, yeah.
This one's actually stuck. It's on, unless I break it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can you
don't
spin
break
it?
it.
Hey, can you spin it, GoPro, so we can see it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then they can't,
Oh,
can you
yeah, but they
guys?
can see that one. Yeah, that's better, thank you.
Working on that one.
All right.
so to position ourselves for future policy decisions, we want to document emerging pressures related to facilities, staffing, and serving demand, strengthen our long-term planning capacity through improved data and documentation, provide a foundation for future council discussion on service levels and infrastructure, and maintain strong public engagement through structured, accessible budget processes. So what has changed? Key budget shifts, and we'll look at slides. So we refined the projections, align more closely with current operating needs. So when the department heads were asked to turn in their budgets and work with that, and then Justine, Debbie, and I met, and we met with each department head, we wanted to understand their operational needs levels and what was missing and how we could improve. And so the projections are more aligned to that, as well as taking a look at a 3 to 5 year history, both on an expenditure and a revenue side. So the personnel and benefits continue as our town's largest ongoing expenditure. It's no surprise in the private and public sector. The increased prominence of election planning due to higher turnout election year is another increase, and the continued emphasis on service stability with no broad service level reductions. So the budget you'll see is that. So at this point, I'll ask Justine to join me. I'm going to start with a review, but then she will give us the current state of affairs. So one of the things, whoops, here we go. I got this. All right. So at this point, according to the spreadsheet, and this is a compilation of all of the department's budgets, we're looking at a 1.2% expenditure increase, all right? And that reflects a 2.5% COLA. It reflects additional charges but the part that's really a driving factor is the non-property tax revenue conservatively is down by negative 0.9. So when you factor all of that and no budgeted amount for the overlay, we're looking at a municipal subtotal of an increase of 3.9%. We budgeted the school. We all know the school's not coming in at 3%, but for all things being equal, we budgeted that. And then the tax transfer to the tax increment financing is negative 48.7. You're going to see that we are transferring an amount to cover the Mayberry culvert in the amount of $438,000, and for the paving, roadway paving, of $500,000. So between the two, and then the departmental budget for economic development will reflect that. Cumberland County taxes, as we were just, it was just shared, is up by 16.2%. So that's a significant, 5.4%, that the other one is 16.4. I can remember which one it is. Do we have 3.4, 16.4, right? We did adjust for the Cumberland County taxes.
Yes, they did.
Okay. So the summary total tax needs were up by 1.1 with the schools assumed at 3. So then this is with capital. So let me share with you a little bit of last year's, and maybe Justine can explain how the warrant article was independent of the budget. So can you address that?
Yes. So in FY26, we didn't include capital costs in our budget. So if you look at our expenses, you'll see for capital it's 0. But as you all know, we did present that we had capital needs. And what happened was there was a warrant article that asked the voters to approve the transfer of $1 million from the unassigned fund balance to fund those capital requests. So this year we're putting it in the budgets, but we're showing the revenues that will offset that.
So when you look at that slide, it looks like a 12.7% increase in expenditures and a 12.3% increase in revenues, but what we're doing is we're shifting where the money comes from. So last year, you had a separate warrant article. You had the budget article, and then you had the $1 million article for capital. So by the fact that it was separated, it overinflates what you look at right here, but it's the same thing. So, so here's our public review, budget review timeline. I think you're well aware of all that. I mean, obviously, by the end of March, we need to be done with this, and the public hearing will be on March 31st, and the budget warrants will have to be approved on April 7th in order to time the right timing for ordering the ballots, and your town meeting is on June 9th. And, all right, I'm going to have Justine step in. We had questions from several people and the council on the current state of our fund balance and general unassigned fund balance, and I'll have Justine reflect that, because what we learned today will impact what we need to decide for capital.
All right, thank you. So most of us are familiar that the town charter states that at no point in time should our unassigned fund balance be at a level less than 2/12, which is 16.7%, no more than 3/12, 25% of the town's net assessment for commitment. This year that translates to a minimum range of $3,571,189 and a maximum of $5,346,091.
What was the high end again? 5 million?
$5,346,091.
Okay.
So our last audit, FY24, stated our unassigned fund balance to be at $7,732,563. What we've prepared today is, while we're still working on our FY25 audit, this is an unaudited value, but we are projecting a use of $39,573 of fund balance for FY25 versus the $1 million that was approved in the FY25 budget. In FY26, the fund balance was used quite heavily in comparison to those previous years at a total of $3,350,000. And what we're not factoring in here is the end of FY26. We've yet to conclude the year. We've yet to see where our expenses are going to fall, where our revenues are going to fall, but that will result in a contribution and or a deficit to the fund balance. And right now, what we're proposing tonight is a $1 million use of fund balance. If all of these things take place, and by that I mean the transfers that we proposed and voted on in FY26 and our current proposed use, the projected fund balance would be at 15.6%, which, as I just stated, is less than the 2/12.
What's the 212?
How
What's the
much
number
is the
again?
212? 3.5 million.
No. It's-
Yeah, 3.5.
3.5,
So how much under the 212 are we going to be?
3.3.
3.3.
I pulled up this page of the charter. It's page 12, section 8. It does state that if the fund balance were to be under the 2/12 minimum, it cannot be so without the favorable vote of a town meeting. I'm cautioning the continued heavy use of fund balance. I would hate for us to fall. We've always, through all of this town's financial struggles, I think cash and fund balance has always been on our side, and I would hate for us to take that in the opposite direction. So I just want to use our fund balance responsibly and budget responsibly, and I want everybody to be aware that when we increase our revenues to unrealistic amounts, like, we could always increase revenues and make our mill rate look better, but at the end of the day, that's going to result in a use of fund balance when we close out that fiscal year. So I think that the revenues that we're preparing, or we're going to present in this budget cycle, are fair and achievable, and that's what I want to see in revenues.
Now, what about the CD? We have one of them coming mature in May.
Yes.
Can you apply that to the 212s?
No.
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 Even that wouldn't be unassigned anymore.
So that's all part of this. That we don't. It's not taken out of the equation just because it's in the CDARs. So
Okay.
that unfortunately wouldn't affect our position.
All right.
So
Right.
Justine, if I'm doing my math right, what we're saying is, if we take the full million out, we'll be about $250,000 roughly short of where we're supposed to be,
Less than the 212s, yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
So I guess, why would we do that? And why wouldn't we just only take $500,000 out?
We could take $500,000. I did run, we originally were playing around with $750,000 for use. That would put us at 16.8% of our net commitment, which would be just above that minimum. We can definitely play with the numbers a little bit and do what we feel is most comfortable. Some other things I want to mention, and I don't want to bank on things such as this, but I do want to mention them. Like I said earlier, we haven't closed out FY26. We don't know what our use is going to be, or we could add to fund balance or use fund balance at the end of FY26. When we close out FY26, if we see that there's a use that would bring our town below that 212s, then what would happen is some of these transfers we proposed in FY26 wouldn't take place, because the warrant articles are written that they only happen if the fund balance is at a certain level. So if we become aware that the fund balance is going to be below that level, then we would need to start talking about maybe not doing that $500,000 transfer to land acquisition, or maybe not doing that $1 million transfer to capital reserve. At this point, those transfers aren't off the table because we're not below that threshold. I don't want to bank on us having such a deficit that we fall into that situation and thinking that, oh, well, if we don't transfer that, then we have plenty to use for FY27 budget. I would rather get ahead of it now before we find ourselves in a poor position.
My biggest concern is that last year, all we heard was how much we had extra and how it was way over. Why are we at where we're at today?
I think because of that significant use in FY26, and we have some revenue lines this year, and like I said, they're not on this sheet. I'm not using them to calculate this, but they are in the back of my mind. We have some revenue lines that I have concern about us reaching, which would result in a further use of fund balance. So I mean, using 3.3 million of the fund balance last year took us from being well over that 3/12ths to now we're walking the line of 2/12ths.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions?
So basically, a lot of the revenues that we said were coming in last year were overinflated.
I would hate to say a lot of revenues, but there are a few revenue lines that I do have concerns about. And I can pull those revenues out later if you guys want and go over them further, but.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing those, thanks.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And you're saying that if we go ahead with the capital expenditures that we had for this past year and this year, that would definitely put us under right now.
If we went through with all the transfers that were voted on last year, and for FY27, we would be under by 0.2%. That's correct.
So what you're saying is we can't use the $1 million to put it back into the budget, pretty much. So you want to cut that down.
You mean using the $1 million to balance the 27
Correct,
budget?
yes.
You can with with approval of the voters.
Okay, but if we didn't want to get approval of voters, we could just back that down.
You can knock it down. Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
That's correct.
I know that some members of the public want to ask questions. Keep in mind, hang on to your questions, and after all the presentations are done, we'll entertain your questions.
It was just a clarification. When you refer to 26, you mean 25, 26 expenditures, correct? I just want to make sure, because you're referring to 26.
Yes, when I say 26, my apologies. When I say 26, I'm referring to FY26, which would be the 2025-2026 budget year.
All right, thank you.
Nope, that's it. All right. That was a huge aha moment that happened in the last 24 hours, and so obviously that's going to impact our ability to use the fund balance to the degree that we were. Okay. All right, let me just see here. All right. Britt, I might need some assistance here on the slides.
I'd like to get a copy of that slide.
And at this point, I believe we're, go ahead.
Is there any way I can, it's just so hard to see, is there any way I can get a copy of that on our laptops?
I can forward this to you.
Yeah. What's your showing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
It will all be
Do you have it
posted
on-
as soon as we're
Denise,
done.
do you have it on a thumb drive? No?
I'll email it.
Thank
Yeah.
you. It just, I just,
We have two PowerPoints, but I don't think either one of them has
Yeah.
this stuff on it, yeah.
All right, so now it's Cumberland County. Cumberland County.
yeah, so this
All right.
is, that's the
It's
one that
good.
goes out of the town. She's gonna,
At this point, I'd like to call up and introduce Jim Gailey, our Cumberland County Manager, to come up and talk about the Cumberland County budget.
Thank you, Denise. First, I would like to thank Council for our invite this evening. My name is Jim Gailey. I'm the County Manager for Cumberland County. Tonight, I'm accompanied by with County Commissioner Tom Tyler, who represents the town of Gray in the district. And first, a couple of apologies up front. I had a cold last week, and I'm still a little raspy, so working through it. Feel perfectly fine, but my throat does not feel perfectly fine. So a little raspy voice. Secondly, as the county commissioners have not approved their FY27 budget yet, we were really unable to put together any type of slideshow for this evening. And so I'll just have some talking points and be available for questions and answers afterwards. When I presented a budget back in November to the county commissioners for their preliminary review, I needed to present two budgets to them. First time in my close to 20 years of being a manager between a city or a county that I did that. It was largely because we had a revenue source, being the federal inmate revenue at the county jail, being questioned by a number of citizens across Cumberland County, which really dated back to May of last year. And the commissioners were really questioning whether they really want to participate with the federal government in regards to immigration detainees at the Cumberland County Jail. That is a revenue that we were relying upon for upwards of 25 years. We've had a relationship with the immigration and the Marshal Service for inmates at the jail, and we received a revenue to hold their inmates. With the commissioners uncertain on the direction that they wanted to head in with regards to that revenue, I created a budget one, which was a budget that included the $3.3 million in revenue, and I created a budget two, which took out the $3.3 million in revenue. As you can imagine, there was a large delta between the two budgets. The first budget, including the revenue, came in at 5.3%. And the second budget came in around 14%. So moving forward through that budget process, the county commissioners authorized or remanded those two budgets to the finance committee. The finance committee is made up of town councilors, city councilors, and town select board members throughout the county from the different municipalities. This year, we had 7 of the 10 slots represented from local towns. And the Finance Committee worked through a series of 4 meetings from December to February, analyzing both budgets, and also waiting to see where the commissioners were going to land in their guidance on whether the federal revenue was going to be part of the budget come July 1st or not. Subsequently, in February, the commissioners, as a result of ICE removing their inmates in January from the county jail, moved in the direction to provide guidance that we would remove the $3.3 million out of the jail budget, which swung the needle quite a bit, and we needed to recreate a budget without that $3.3 million in revenue starting July 1st. That, as a result, we are looking at in total, a $60.4 million budget, of which $47.8 million is in needs of taxes. That represents a 13.53% county tax increase. That is a increase that no one likes, but the commissioners have weighed in on their desires to remove the federal inmate revenue. As a consequence, we needed to reflect that in the budget. The budget as a whole really does not move the county forward. I call it a budget that keeps the lights on. It is a budget that has had a number of increases in the budget as a result of common increases, whether it was wage and benefits, utilities, IT software, line items associated with the jail, such as medical. We run the largest mental health facility in the state, as the sheriff coins it, at the county jail. We also have seen, much like we all see in our homes, our grocery bills going up. We have to feed upwards of 400 inmates 3 meals a day for 365 days. So that's a significant cost driver and an increase in this year's budget. Over the last year, we have negotiated all 4 of the county's union contracts. We have 2 contracts at the jail for supervisors and correction officers. We have a sheriff's patrol contract, and we also have a dispatch contract. All 4 of them were negotiated and saw substantial increases in their wages and benefits based on comps that we had received from other similar type departments or facilities. We experienced a 12% increase in health insurance. We had to accommodate because of the lack of staff that we have at the county jail at this time. We have to pay outside law enforcement agencies such as the town of Scarborough, the city of South Portland, the city of Portland, to ask their law enforcement officers to pull overtime if we have a inmate at the one of the 2 hospitals in Portland. And so that was a significant increase, and we're hoping to wean off from that as we increase our staffing levels at the jail. To kind of boil it down a little bit to show the real impacts in this budget, of the 60.4, actually of the 47.8 million needs from taxes, the general fund, which is primarily the bulk of the expenses in county government, is up 4.3%. The jail is up 10.26%. And the cross-insurance arena is a negative 1.04%. Those 3 percentages all equate to 13.53. We are using $500,000 of unassigned fund balance to try to push this down a little bit. I will caution, as I just heard the fund balance conversation, county government does not accrue year over year a lot of surplus to capitalize our fund balance. We have a different structure. We don't have the revenues a town or a city has to offset that. And a lot of times our surplus was coming from revenues associated with the federal marshal's contract that exceeded our revenue projections for a given year. Having that off the table starting July 1st, the clarity of what we're going to be able to capitalize our unfunded, unassigned fund balance is uncertain moving forward. With the $500,000 insertion of that unassigned fund balance, we actually have to plan out a number of years to wean ourselves off from that so that we do not create a hole in our budget year over year. As you probably have seen or read, a number of county jails, or county governments across the state of Maine have been in the newspapers of late. That's largely because they have depleted their unassigned fund balance, creating gigantic holes in their budgets, and it's caught up to them. We are being a little bit more strategic, and when we put in $500,000 this year, we're looking to then move not only $500,000 out of unassigned, but we're going to take the $400,000 that we're going to put in next year. That's a step down. It's going to be $300,000 the year after that. So we're going to step it down a number of years at $100,000 each year to ultimately wean ourselves off from this $500,000 unassigned fund balance this year. That's close to $1 million, if not over $1 million, that we will be using for that program to happen. Just to give you a little bit of background to the county and its operations, to kind of back up the $60 million budget. I believe Denise passed one of these out to all of you this evening. This is a recently developed document just explaining what county government does. We have around 370 employees. Of that, about 125 of them are non-union. We have 4 elected officials and 5 elected commissioners. And we have 3 appointed employees, myself being one of them. We have 5 campuses that we oversee. We have the jail and the law enforcement building in Portland. We have the Cross Insurance Arena building in Portland, the courthouse downtown. We also have the dispatch center in Wyndham, and we have the county's new building at 27 Northport Drive in Portland, which was a building that we just moved into in June of this past year, where we consolidated 9 departments that were outgrowing the courthouse. We were renting 2 spaces in the Old Port, and we had EMA buried underground in a World War II bunker in Wyndham. And we now have given them windows. Of those campuses, they all have their needs. However, our capital allocations this year are just over $340,000 in capital, as we were trying to keep it down this year, and hopefully crossing our fingers that we don't have any real capital needs for FY27, and we can make it up in the coming years. We do have, aside from the standard county services that most people relate to county government, like probate court, the district attorney, the sheriff's office, the jail, dispatch, emergency management. We also have other departments that typically are not those that you see in county government. We have a regional assessing department. We have a regional general assistance department. We have a public health department, community development block grant program. We have just incorporated in the last 6 months a fire EMS division. We have the Cross Arena, as I previously mentioned, and we have a public parking garage that not only serves the courthouse, but also visitors and local businesses in downtown Portland. So hopefully that gives you kind of a snapshot of the county's budget. As I said before, we are lining the budget up for this coming Monday for the Commissioner's review and hopefully approval. We are later this year than we have been in past years. We typically finish our budget in February, but due to the shifting sands of this budget, we needed the extra 3 weeks to a month to finish things up. So I'd be happy to answer any questions
Thank you. I'm going to start with Ann. Do you have some questions?
Yeah, I'll start with one of your last points about your fire EMS department. Can you just talk about what that does that's distinct from what happens at the town and city level?
Sure. That division was actually 2 years in the making. We had a number of town managers and fire chiefs raise a concern that regionally there was the inability to attract and hire firefighters, EMS professionals for the individual departments. That ranged from a small department to a large department. Everyone was having issues around that. That conversation kind of got some momentum. We went out, hired a national consultant to look at Cumberland County as a whole and provide us a feasibility study. And from that feasibility study, we then met up in the fall of 2024 with fire chiefs and town managers for a strategic planning exercise that was held at Valhalla Golf Course. That really kind of laid things on the short-term needs or desires of the group that was involved. And the number one priority through that strategic planning exercise was for the county to hire a fire EMS coordinator. And that coordinator was brought on September 1st of 2025 and has picked up where staff was going and has taken over control of 4 committees. There is an advisory committee that is appointed by the county commissioners. There's a 7-member advisory committee that is made up of fire chiefs or fire officials. There is a committee that meets particularly on training. There's another committee that is more municipal governance, and then there's a data committee. Because one of the things that we saw that was really lacking in through the study that we had performed was that there was not consistent data from one department to the next. And everyone was doing a different software program. They were accounting for the data a little differently, and it wasn't melding apples to apples. It was more apples to oranges. And so this data committee is looking at ways of trying to get everyone on the same page so that we can have a good dialogue on good data to move the fire EMS initiative forward.
So it's more about coordination, strategic planning, advisory role of that group. Of
It
that
is.
portion.
It is. They are taking on anything from looking at increasing training opportunities for towns to get people into training so that they're not hiring and just waiting for that next class to happen, more routine trainings. There's, I talked about the data, but there's also regional collaboration with purchasing and exploring that area. There's been some talk about regional fire training facilities. So there's a number of items that they're talking about,
That's
but
helpful.
it's still in the infancy as the coordinator's only been on for 6 months.
Sure, no, and I was just trying to distinguish between the actual, firefighting or emergency medical kind of service delivery and kind of the function that they're providing. The business about the Cumberland County Jail being the largest mental health provider in the state has been the case for decades, I think. I was part of I sort of helped with a study years ago that showed that permanent supportive housing was, although expensive, was cheaper in the long run for, in terms of helping unhoused people become permanently and stably housed, because it's actually more expensive to house people in the jail and to be, sending ambulances to pick them up off the street and provide, emergency shelter than it is to house them in permanent supportive housing. And I just wonder, we've known that for a really long time. If we were able to move that population out of the jail, and I understand this is total pie in the sky, but that's not where they belong. How much mental health treatment can the jail actually provide? It's limited.
Very true. I will say that they're in the jail, not because we've invited them in, but because a local law enforcement agency has brought them in because of breaking the law.
Yeah.
The time they stay, I think, is dependent upon the individual and their ability to either post bond or get a court hearing. But there is a reason why they're there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's just not because they're housed. But I would agree with you that if they are housed, they would maybe be less likely to break a law.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, okay. And just lastly, the 500,000, 400,000, 300,000, I just want to be crystal clear what you're talking about is, so you're proposing to use the 500 grand in unassigned fund balance in the FY27 budget and then stepping it down by 100 grand each year, but so that would basically, it's like a slow projected tax increase for the member communities, right?
No,
In those out years?
yes, it would be 100,000.
Yeah,
Yes.
additionally per year, okay.
Yes.
Good, thanks.
And hopefully we can cover that by increasing revenues.
Right.
As we're always trying to maximize our revenues.
Sure, yeah, all right, thanks, I'm done, thanks, Mike.
All right, thank you. Vince? Do you have any questions?
No, it just sounds like some increases due to pay, benefits, et cetera, but everything else sounds pretty much status quo.
It really is. There's not a lot in this budget. And if it wasn't for the loss of the federal inmate money,
And that won't
I would be
change.
presenting a 5% budget to you.
And that couldn't change somewhere down the line? That wouldn't?
It could. With our relationship with ICE at this time, I don't think it's going to be immediately. But it could change down the road. Who knows?
Ken?
You keep mentioning the Cross Arena. How does that play into you guys?
We own it.
Do you own the Cross Arena? You guys do?
Yes, a little bit of history there.
Okay.
When the Cross Arena was built back in 76, 77, there was a special law through the state legislature that created a recreation district. It was called the Cumberland County Recreation District.
Okay.
And through that law, there was a board of trustees that was formed to oversee the day-to-day operations of the Civic Center at that time. It wasn't until, fast forward to 2015, 2016, the county commissioners at the time kept on getting warrants from this Civic Center trustees because of any time they lost money at the arena, the state statute required them to submit the warrant to Cumberland County, and Cumberland County had to pay it. So the commissioners, after a number of years of seeing a loss in revenue, or these warrants come in, decided to move towards instructing me in 2017 to change the state statute. And through that change, we made it a county building, made the trustees an advisory board, and now Cumberland County has full control of the property and operations of the arena.
Wouldn't it be more feasible to sell it at this point?
I've heard that many times.
Yeah.
I think that's an act of the county commissioners, not in my wheelhouse.
Okay. That's the only question I have.
Thank you.
If I could, I'm sorry, Chair. As I talked about a lot of losses, the last 5 years we've made profit operationally at the arena. And so there had been, before that it was the pandemic and the building was dark.
Okay. All right.
So we have made a turnaround there operationally. The other side of the coin is that we're still paying on a bond that the county holds under the general fund. That was the renovations that date back to 2012, what the voters across Cumberland County voted in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know you're the individual that delivers the message. Looking through this, my concerns are when the commissioner decided to kind of walk away from the funds, doesn't seem to be like there was a plan to make them up somehow. We obviously we're not housing them now, so why aren't we cutting staff? Why aren't we doing things to make up that revenue? I just don't get it. If he decides not to take the money, or whoever he or she is, it doesn't seem to be a plan to make that up, and that's all being a burden on the taxes. Us as citizens, Is there a plan? Are we gonna, if we don't have those people there, why haven't we done anything else? Why are the expenses the same?
Well, I'm gonna rewind about 3 years. 3 years ago, the U.S. Marshals, they were the primary tenants for inmates at the jail. Prior to the last 18 months, we really did not see a lot of ICE inmates, 2 or 3 at most at any given time. It was mostly the U.S. Marshals, and they ranged from 30 to 40 inmates. The U.S. Marshals, for just over a year, removed their inmates due to our staffing levels. We had 2 suicides that had taken place at the jail, and the marshals felt as though they were better equipped to move their inmates out of our jail. Because of that, we lost all the revenue for one budget cycle, and we unfunded 40 correction officer positions. And so since unfunding those 40 positions, we have been able to bring back 9 of those positions, but there are still 31 positions that are unfunded and vacant currently. And so that is, we're at a level for 400 inmates. We're at a staffing level that we are still asking for volunteered overtime. We are still running shifts short, and we are also doing force overs because of our staffing levels at the jail. So really developing a game plan and looking at additional layoffs because of that at the jail, it's really not in the cards because we're really at the bare minimum in terms of staffing levels, and we do have a number of vacancies currently, so we're not fully staffed.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Waiting for Kyle to share the computer. Hold that thought.
It's up.
All right, very good. So the next section is very brief. It's our administration budget. This represents, let me just forward the slide here. If I can do this. This is not my laptop.
The right arrow.
Right here, okay. It's stopped on the screen here, so that's not what I'm used to. Right. That's what I tried. It didn't do it. Okay, there we go. Thank you. The administration is the central management and oversight of the town operations, representing our administration financially, policy coordination, council support. The change is a decrease of 3.71, and FY27 reflects a continued fiscal restraint while maintaining essential administrative capacity. And the primary change in that is some of the salaries are further funded by the TIFs. And you'll see that the expenditures by category, the pay and benefits represents 62.7% of the budget. Our operations 31.4, contractual services 4.5, and supplies and equipment is 12,500, 1.5. Again, like this department the administration costs are largely personnel driven, and non-personnel expenses remain tightly controlled. So the budget changes, again, just reflect the changes in the council consideration is the sustainability of reduced contract services, administrative capacity amid increasing workload and community expectations, and trying to work on the ongoing balance between cost control and service delivery. The FY27 administrative budget reduces prior allocations while preserving core governance and management functions. So essentially, no real significant changes. Does the council have any questions on that? And I may need to enlist the help of a couple of folks because I've only been in charge of administration for a handful of months.
I'm going to start with Vince.
I'm still looking at it, so I'm gonna pass right for this second. Thank you.
Okay. Ann, do you have any questions?
Yeah, so I just want to clarify the difference between interlocal and intergovernmental is interlocal is town by town, and intergovernmental would be, you know, between us and the county or us and the state or
Correct.
something like that. Okay, just want to make sure. And what are the decreased contractual services that what
I'll need my
included in
budget.
that line?
It's
Yeah,
up there.
sorry.
Yes, then maybe Justine would know, but let me just look at this here. I'll have Justine answer that. She probably has a better handle on that.
Is the question on revenues?
Yeah, there was a decrease, I think, in the, so let me make sure I'm here in the right spot.
We can get back to
what was I looking at? Yeah, the contractual services. Denise had mentioned that there was a decrease in amount of, you were budgeting for contractual services, I think, right? Or did I get that right?
The North Yarmouth contract
Okay,
is part
that's
of
it.
that.
Yeah, okay.
And, yeah.
I just was curious if there's anything else. All right, thanks.
Anything else? All right, Ken?
All set right at the moment.
And,
So that was the biggest one, was the North
Yep.
Yarmouth? All right,
Yes.
That makes sense.
and Vince, anything else?
No.
Right.
Right for a second.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank
yeah.
you.
I don't have any more at this second for this. Thank you.
Great, thank you. At this point, I will call on John Hart to discuss our human resources budget.
Good evening. Tonight I'll walk through the FY27 HR budget, focusing on how the HR budget is structured and what's changing from FY26 to 27 and the key cost drivers behind those changes. This slide helps clarify, this slide helps clarify why the HR budget looks the way it does. The HR budget includes the town's personnel cost structure, not only the human resources department. That means this budget holds the lines for insurance, HRA funding, retirement contributions, taxes, workers' comp, and more, which I'll detail in a moment. HR administratively manages these systems for the whole organization. The HR department itself consists of one position, my role as HR director, supported by a modest operating budget. That operational segment pays for items like recruiting ads, required training, and professional resources. As HR director, I support up to 100 employees and 12 supervisors across every department. HR is involved at every major stage of employment, from recruitment and onboarding through benefits admin and compliance, and ultimately through separation or retirement. If an employee has a workplace injury, needs medical leave, has a question about their paycheck, or encounters a policy issue, HR is often the first point of contact. And importantly, while personnel cost lines appear in the HR budget, HR does not determine staffing levels. Departments propose changes based on operational needs, and the town manager approves those decisions. My role is to ensure that whatever the staffing structure is, we administer payroll, benefits, leave programs, and compliance obligations accurately and consistently for the town. The HR budget includes the HR director position and a 2.5% cost of living adjustment. In the next line, line 2, you'll see that the department's operations budget is decreasing in FY27 by 22% rather, due to reductions in advertising, memberships, and personnel development lines. The majority of changes in the HR budget relate to townwide personnel benefits. The insurance line includes a group health insurance plan that covers hospitalization and major medical expenses. The town also offers full-time employees basic life insurance coverage equal to the employee's salary. We are budgeting for a 20% increase in insurance premiums in the coming year. This estimate reflects estimated insurance market-based cost increases. The town offers a companion HRA for the health insurance plan that reimburses eligible medical expenses. In the coming year, we're budgeting an amount closer to recent usage. We are also budgeting an amount for workers' compensation that reflects cost savings due to decreased claims in the past couple of years. The town's benefit program also includes retirement and contributions to Maine's paid family medical leave program. Under the PFML program, eligible employees may take up to 12 weeks per benefit year of paid leave to care for their own serious health condition, to care for a family member with a serious health condition, to bond with a new child, or for other qualifying reasons. In FY26, we budgeted for partial year funding for Maine's PFML program, as contributions to the town's private plan begin in May of this year. Midway through the fiscal year, essentially we budgeted for 2 months of this year, and now going into FY27, we're budgeting for 12 months. That's why you see the large increase there. And lastly, the town manager requested that HR present regional cost of living data to assist the council in evaluating the proposed 2.5% COLA. The town surveyed 14 municipalities of comparable size in Cumberland and adjacent counties. Their average proposed COLA for FY27 is 3%, with most reporting between 3% and 3.3%. The council will decide the COLA level as part of its broader personnel cost considerations. Thanks for your time this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Thank you. We'll start with Ken.
Yeah, I have a question. So workman's comp decreased quite a bit. Is there any reason for that?
That was because we actually had the past couple of years a pretty good safety record. So with our decreased claims, we were able to achieve some cost savings there.
So that's pretty good. You have quite a bit of increases. What is the main PFMI?
So that's the main paid family medical leave program.
Okay.
And so it's essentially a taxed program where employees contribute to it, the town contributes to it, so that employees are able to take paid leave for qualifying reasons.
All righty.
Any other questions? Vince, how about yourself?
No, I'm just making a couple notes on this.
Okay. Charity, do you have any questions? Ann?
I did have a question. You mentioned that there was a decrease in the training, I think you said, personnel.
Personnel development.
Personal development, yeah. And could you just describe kind of, because it seems to me that we cut that pretty substantially in FY26, and I just wanted to know kind of what the further decreases are and what they'll mean for personnel.
We're trying to run as lean as we can, and given the fact that there was not as much usage on that particular line this year when it comes to some of the personnel development programs that we've been running, we felt that we could get by with what we have. It won't affect any current trainings taking place, and there are actually trainings that are budgeted for within certain departments. So it does have to do with how we invest in the planning for our personnel across the board, and as our programs are still in development, that personnel development line was somewhat reduced. But we do still have personnel development funds available for me to administer.
And so personnel development in those contexts is more just sort of team building or employee recognition.
Correct.
Or those kinds of things.
And
as
leadership
opposed to
training.
How to do your job kind of thing.
How to do your job and more.
And more,
Right.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm Just concerned because it seems to me that the effects of continued cuts or just, sort of flat line budgeting could be cumulative over time. But, so we might not see the effects so much in 1 year, but over a 3 to 5 year period, we could see some effects, and just sort of watching that closely.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I do have one more question, actually. So health insurance is increased quite a bit. So is the input to the employees, is that going to go up a little bit to help that out, or are they going to pay the same? And
The town pays for 80% of
Okay.
the health insurance premium.
All right.
And so, yes, it would be somewhat, there would be costs that would result in premium increases for employees as well.
Okay, do we stick with the same provider, or do you shop it around?
We do shop around every year.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
All set?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess my biggest question is on the HRA. I noticed that, back in, you were at 262, and you're budgeting for an increase of $75,000. Is that what I'm seeing, or?
You're right.
All right. And why do we think it's going to go up by $75,000? What's changed?
Based on recent usage, that's what we're estimating that it would increase by. So it's actually closer to actual usage from
Okay.
FY '25 and '26.
And what do we allow, and what do we contribute?
The town contributes the HRA premiums. So
Okay.
it all depends on the usage of the HRA fund. And
Okay.
the town has been contributing to a fund as of this past year, so that we could, over time, reduce the amount that is allocated toward the budget each year.
Okay. And is the HRA for the high premium insurance policies? Is that why we do it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And it just the reason we do that, Ken, for example, is if the cost is so much lower if they do the high premium, so we give them some money towards stuff.
It's a high deductible
It's a high
plan.
deductible, yes.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else? All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Back up here, this time for economic development. And we have a few changes proposed. The economic development efforts in FY '26 and '27 centered on strategic planning, analysis, doing project management, community-wide initiatives, rather than on direct program expansion. The work focused on supporting existing businesses, doing consultations, evaluating long-term infrastructure readiness for the town of Gray, and advancing projects aligned with the town's growth and resiliency goals. So the key areas of focus were business outreach and engagement, doing tax increment financing, TIF analysis, long-range planning, and infrastructure feasibility, as well as cross-departmental and committee-based collaboration. Keep in mind, in FY '26, there was a layoff of staff, our town engineer, and so those duties were passed on to Economic Development Director. And so I had those two roles. So the major initiatives that were completed were, again, continued engagement with the businesses to identify needs, constraints, and opportunities, evaluating through the TIF analysis the districts, looking at their expiration, their development programs, and to make a recommendation through this year's budget, and evaluating whether we should extend or amend the existing TIF districts or not, and the recommendation you folks voted on last week. So we did an evaluation of the compliant and strategic use of the TIF resources to support infrastructure and economic goals. The department, along with the former town manager, we were responsible for the Village Transformation Project to coordinate continually with Maine DOT on the planning, public engagement, and funding strategy, focusing on safety, traffic flow, accessibility, and long-term village economic vitality. The other piece, and I will be forwarding the report, it's just been completed, the wastewater treatment facility study was also a study commissioned through the department, and that did an analysis of the infrastructure capacity as a prerequisite for future development. And then I also served throughout the year as a resiliency committee staff liaison that has now been passed on to Tammy Munson in codes. So here are the recommendations. This is a significant change from the direction that was, yes, and I'm walking myself out of a job. I'm recommending that the transition goes from budgeting for a full-time economic development director to funding economic development consulting services that are specific for projects or specific needs. The rationale is we want it project-specific, you need it specialized, and it's an intermittent need rather than full-time. It's no secret that this department was introduced, and it wasn't really, how do I say this gently? Because it's about me. It wasn't really welcomed with open arms. You know, there was a need. So clearly, it didn't take long for me to figure out that you needed really somebody to do your TIF analysis, your recommendations, your strategies, and how you need to invest your money wisely over the next 20 or 30 years. And that can be done by a consultant. And so the consultant model allows the town to access targeted expertise, not necessarily attorneys, those are very expensive, but align costs with defined projects and outcomes, and maintain your flexibility while continuing to work with your priority initiatives. So this is a strategic, cost-effective realignment of your economic development resources and sustaining the critical planning and infrastructure needs. And that's it. Any questions?
All right, I'm going to start with Charity today.
I don't have any questions
No
right
questions?
now.
No. Okay, Vince.
Yeah, I just got lost there. Let me go to,
I'll take it real quick. So if we hire a consultant, how many hours a week do you think we would need a consultant to come in?
In reality, it's
Yes.
more project-based. So let's say you have a TIF analysis, you want to do a TIF amendment. You might have somebody that's giving you 10 hours a week for 4 to 5 straight weeks to make sure it gets to Augusta, public hearing meetings, and to have that all set up. If you don't have that up ahead, then you probably wouldn't have it. It wouldn't be like a person sits in the office for like 6 hours a week. It's like, okay, we need a TIF extension, we need a TIF amendment, we would like to attract a business into town, and can you work with, you know, outside agencies and those sorts of things.
So you're basically going to hire a consultant firm, and they will send somebody in when we need them? Is that the purpose?
I mean, it could be an individual.
It could be an
Yeah,
individual.
There's plenty of-
I mean, I
yeah.
have a consulting business on the side. I provide
Okay,
those
so
services.
that's what I meant.
Yeah.
So you're just
Yep.
going to have a consulting person
Right.
when we need them?
Yeah,
Correct.
Come in?
as needed.
Do this
Correct.
job as needed?
Right.
Okay, that was my question. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ian?
Could some of the consulting work be like a project manager? I'm a little, I was really gratified by the turnout at the open house last week for the VTP, but in the Ernie Martin's presentation of the schedule, there's sort of like this 7-month gap between March and November, and it feels like we kind of fell into that chasm last year, and I don't know to what extent we're going to need project management in that 7-month period, but it does seem like it should be somebody's job on the staff to pay attention to that, and so I'm just curious to, you know, there may be other project management needs for all I know. You know, I'm thinking about also the sidewalks on Libby Hill Road, for example.
Right.
I know Kristen's been working on that, but so.
So
you know,
Gray currently does not have the bench depth to manage projects.
Yeah,
I am the
that's what I'm
bench
concerned
depth.
about. Yeah.
Bottom line. And so
Yeah.
some projects have gone offline or they're completed, and others are going to continue. You don't have a traffic engineer or a project engineer, you know, online. And so, yes, what I budgeted was $30,000 for needs, but is that sufficient? Probably not. But do you need, and we talked about this, right, with you folks, that do you need somebody of this caliber to be here full-time? You don't have businesses coming in and, you know, a lot of need. And so I think you're more project-based needed and
Right.
somebody to do TIF
No,
analysis.
I'm in complete agreement with that at this
Okay.
point, but I just wondering whether or not whether in your coming up with that 30 grand budget, whether that includes, you know, some potential for project management.
It does, and
But it
I
sort of
just
depends.
ballparked it
Yeah,
at 30,000, in
yeah.
all honesty. coming out of the TIFs, you're net neutral. So
Okay.
you could
All
put
right.
80,000. It doesn't matter, it's coming out of the TIFs. And so I probably could have put 80,000, but I was trying to be modest and save the money for some of your initiatives, like the Village Transformation
Yeah,
Project.
okay.
Yep.
I mean, we'll be talking about this a little bit more about the TIFs, but I mean, some of the TIF money we're talking about moving into the general fund budget anyway, right? I mean, So,
Exactly.
yeah, because I may want to see that number go up a little bit just for that line. Thanks.
You're
And
welcome.
so, what I see here is you're saying that we should, budget for 170,000?
Yeah, and part of that, you'd have to drill down, and the pay and benefits is paying 20% of the communications and IT budget, paying part of the
Okay.
town manager's budget, paying 20% of finance, and I can't remember which other ones, I don't have them right in front of me.
Okay.
But I can get that answer for you.
Okay,
So that salary is the partial payment or contribution
partial.
toward
Okay.
other full-time economic development-related activities.
Yeah, because it doesn't seem like we're really saving that much by not having somebody.
Yeah, it's, well, we just, when you diminish an economic development director, you can actually pay the town manager more, because the town manager is going to be doing most of the economic development at that point.
Wow.
It's currently like what I'm doing right now.
Do you really think we need a full-time economic development director?
I do not.
Okay.
That's why I'm recommending.
Presenting this, all right.
So,
Yep.
Vince, you-
yeah, and so the economic so again, that 30 grand that you're putting in right now is gonna be from the TIF account. TIF money.
Correct.
And I know there's other accounts, and that's one thing we talked about, which is, and something I'd like to keep working on, is how can we maximize TIF use? Right down to, if we get a new vehicle for something and it's driving through town, and it's through town a percentage of the time, we can use a percentage of that money for the TIFs.
You can actually do a formula, which,
Yes.
I would recommend, and the formula would be on the prorated amount. For example, if you want to pay for a plow truck, you really technically can't pay for it out of TIFs. That said, if 20% of your roads
That's
exist
right.
in commercial districts, yes, you can pay that. And same thing for public safety, fire trucks or whatever, so you can pay a portion
So,
of that.
because, we're talking about the Village Transformation Project, everybody came the other day. To me, it makes no sense to have somebody that's doing traffic and safety if we're gonna be doing this Village Transformation Project. It's like you're paying somebody to do something the DOT is already gonna come out and do. So I just, my concern is I wanna make sure we're not wasting money on an overlapping of services.
Right.
And it sounds like, from what you're saying here, if we need somebody, we can call somebody in and say, hey, what do you think about that before we do anything? So I just, have a concern about, and then I know that Tammy and the Ordinance Advisory Committee is working on the zoning. And I think that's pretty important to get in, because obviously if businesses
Yeah.
are coming, we need to redo our zoning, and we're working on that right now.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll have something on. And the reality is, and this is just me speaking, if I'm gonna build a business, if I want a business, say I wanted even to look to come downtown, I'm not gonna buy a couple buildings, knock them down over the next 3 years and put a business in, knowing the street's gonna get dug up for another 2.5 years. I'm gonna wait till it's all done. So to me, if we're gonna do an economic development full-time, we've got some time to wait. I would rather go the consulting route, and being a little selfish, I know we don't have to pay health benefits and all the other things that go along with it if we're just doing a consultant.
I wouldn't have recommended if I didn't believe in it.
Yeah, so, all right, so that's good. I just want to make sure, and that's something we could talk a little bit more about.
Sure.
I just want to make sure we're maximizing the TIF money to use wherever we can. And, people say it's free money, but it's really not. It's there's still a cost to it. But I want to make sure we're maximizing that to keep our tax rate down. And then, again, if we need something for a project, I think we can look to the economic development to say, do we need that? But in the town, I really don't think we do right now.
And I think when you begin your town manager search, you make that a significant requirement, that individual has economic development experience. The finance team has gotten really up to speed on TIFs, and we're building the bench depth that you didn't have before. So I believe that would be in the best interest of
And
the
again,
town.
I think towards the end of the VTP, if that goes through and it moves on, as it's ending, and everything's looking pretty and good, and then we can say, hey, now come to our town. I think that's the time to do it. Although there's things on the outskirts that I think are viable for now. So.
Right.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Everyone else up?
And
All right,
at this point, anybody else before I pass the baton here to communications and the IT department?
Yeah, I just, do you guys, after Kyle, do you guys want to take a quick 5-minute break or just?
Yeah,
go?
yeah.
Or do you want to do it now, or do you want?
No, let Kyle come up
Okay.
first and
No.
then we'll do it, and that's halfway through. Does that
All right,
work?
thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, folks. Wouldn't want this to die on me, that's all. Hopefully nothing tremendously wrong happens in the back, because I'm not there. Hello, I am Kyle Hediniak, the Communications and IT Director for the town of Gray. I'm going to illustrate tonight briefly, on a surface level, how this year's budget compares to last year's. And I won't get into too much technical detail unless you folks ask for it. So first of all, I want to impart upon you folks that the Communications and IT Department, we stress fiscal responsibility as we address the current communicative and technological needs of the town of Gray. And I also want to make sure you understand that we also have an eye towards the future. I like to keep an eye on trending technology. Even if it's not something that necessarily we will purchase ultimately, it is good to know what's out there. And hopefully you agree. We serve the town of Gray staff and operations using a variety of services and technology at our disposal, and we do have some pretty cool technology, so I have a lot of fun. So in FY26, just to set some context, it was a pretty quiet year in our upgrade cycle. Nothing too much to get excited about last year. Part of my salary, 25%, don't believe your lying eyes about the 50, it's 25, was in economic development. And as you'll see in just a second, that will change. Notably, last year, we saved a boatload of money because we dropped one of the services we were using and opted instead for an in-house workflow using technology we already have, and a very cost-effective third-party solution that we currently use now for agendas. You may be familiar with TownCloud. We also started to budget, notably, for Copilot licenses. So that was pretty big deal for me, at least. We started to spend money on AI, which comes with a lot of pros, for sure, but it's something we need to be cognizant of, and we will continue to do that in a modest schedule for this coming year. And last year, we also had interns, which I love hosting interns here. I've done it for the last 3 years or so, courtesy of the Margaret Chase Smith Policy Center. They have a summer government internship program. And having interns in here during the summer was great. Fresh ideas, young blood, it was great. That will not be the case this year. So this year, we have small but expected increases in per user services, including things like Microsoft licenses or Adobe licenses, pretty low cost, par for the course kind of stuff. We did add a product called Clerkbase, which is a very handy boards and committees tool that we will launch in the next couple months that kind of radically changes how we can display the information related to boards and committees. It looks a lot better. It's a lot less user intensive. It's easier to handle all that information, which is very cool. We do have some irregular hardware needs this year, which contributes to the year-over-year cost increase. Things like Wi-Fi access points, which we do not have to upgrade very often at all. We do need to do that this coming year. The Gray Public Library needs some public access computers. Again, not a common expense. Those computers are not very powerful, and they are only used ever for really basic stuff, so we don't feel the need to upgrade them as often as perhaps some other stuff, but that is coming due this year. And then in the town office here, there's a very expensive piece of equipment right near the finance director's office that's going to cost a bit of money to secure a warranty for. And again, kind of an irregular need. My salary is now solely within the communications and IT budget. So as I just mentioned, that was not the case last year, so that's part of the increase you see this year. We do have a need for double-digit employee computers. And the cost of computers, if you pay attention to the computing space nowadays, the cost of computers is impacted in no small amount by the RAM apocalypse, is what they're calling it. So there's a particular computer component called RAM that is now much more expensive than it was even last year or even 5 months ago, 3 months ago, because of all the AI data centers popping up around the world. This is a very high demand component, and so anyone who buys a computer now in any space will be paying a little bit more than you might be used to, so that's something we need to keep in mind. On graymain.org, there's a really handy accessibility feature that helps us remain in compliance with Department of Justice regulations. It's called Audio Eye, and you can view it right now if you go to graymain.org, and you see in the corner a little blue icon with the little guy there. You can open that up, and there's a host of accessibility options that really makes Gray's website pretty accessible, and there's a cost associated with that. In 2 items here on 1 line. So no interns, as I mentioned. So that's too bad, but it's a cut we can make to save some money. And we also decreased by a modest amount the amount of quote-unquote emergency support we have budgeted. This is for stuff that pops up when we can't handle it in-house. And so we normally give a call to our managed service provider, Ion Networking. They usually help us through things like some advanced network troubleshooting, stuff like that. Doesn't happen very often at all, which is why I'm comfortable decreasing that amount allocated. Just something to be aware of. And that is a bunch of information. Do you have any questions for me?
All right, I'm gonna start with you down here.
I don't think I did. I think I'm good.
I'm sorry, I should note, if I very well may have the answer to a question, but if not, we also have our IT systems administrator, Mohammed, here tonight, who is here to help me out if needed, and otherwise just support the department.
Thank you.
I guess I'm sort of curious to what extent, we're still using copiers and paper and stuff like that. I mean, are people using just more e-communications and
well, in a perfect world, we would go paperless.
Yeah.
We still do require a lot of that stuff. Can't say I use it a lot personally. I probably don't even have a pen at my desk, but we still do have a contract with Kyocera for all of those needs,
Okay.
and it's not a demand that can go away anytime soon, unfortunately.
Okay. Great, thanks.
Yeah.
And the rationale for removing your 25% of your salary from the economic development is just that you're not using that much time, or what's the rationale for that?
The department won't exist anymore.
Okay. Oh, wait, okay, yeah. So you can't. Yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
I mean,
Makes
I
sense.
don't want to lose that money. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Go, sorry, Sherry, I'm sorry.
The only question I had is you mentioned that you have some services out of office, and you have a specific,
The emergency support.
the emergency support.
Yeah.
Do you shop around for that? So do you get bids, or is there one specific place that you're sticking with?
We are the most comfortable going with Ion because we have an existing relationship with them. They know our environment, our tech environment pretty well, our networking environment. So they are the next best experts upon which to call for help.
Okay, thank you.
Vince.
I want to look. I don't have it here, but on the other one, where the details. I do want to go through the software
All
again,
the
like I did
software,
last
yep.
year, and go through. It's just so much software.
There is. Yeah.
So one of the questions I have for you is with regards to, you're saying the cost of computers are going up.
Yeah.
I know we have a specific laptop that's being held right now.
Sure.
Once we get the go-ahead to do something with that, would you recommend we just sell it, or is that
Yes.
something we should use?
I would not. I only want to have a Windows environment
Okay,
for the town of
perfect.
Gray,
Good.
so
Yep,
I am more than happy to sell it.
Okay, perfect.
We'll get some good money too.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm all set at the moment.
Sweet.
And I guess my biggest question is on this contract services. It seems like we're spending a lot of money on this, and if we have staff in-house, why are we spending so much there?
So a lot of what we use contract services for is for procurement. So if we wanted to buy something like an Adobe Acrobat Pro license, we can't just really get that ourselves. We have to go through a supplier. So we use someone for that. The same goes for a few other services we use, like the cloud backup solution we have, the way we procure our Microsoft licenses, the way we do on-site backup. That's a lot of what that is. One thing we were able to do last year was to eliminate the premium that we were paying for having something like a managed service provider manage those services, because we can do stuff like that in-house. So we did save a bunch of money last year by kind of leaning more into the staff we have instead of the managed service provider.
Excellent. Thank you. Unless anybody else has anything. 5, 10 minutes, what do you think?
Yeah, like 10.
Let's say 10 minutes. We're just going to take a 10-minute break, bio break, and we'll come back at, let's say, a couple minutes past 6, about 41. Yeah, no problem. What? All right, Tammy, I think we're good to go.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay, great. I'm Tammy Munson. I'm the Director of Code Enforcement and Planning. And I'm just going to give you a brief overview of some changes in our budget and some reasons why. The department's budget has increased as a result of a higher workload, which is mainly driven by a lot of the density standards that we're seeing coming down from the state, a lot of the LD laws that are coming out allowing single-family lots to now be two-family lots with ADUs, and two families with ADUs and ADUs on that. And so the changes are just continuous. I'm anticipating even more changes within the next coming year. So the demand in the office has definitely increased from the prior year. We are also, as you heard Vince mention, that we are proposed to work on the new proposed zoning within this fiscal year that could involve some outside consulting firms. And then there also was a fairly significant increase in our rate with one of our outside engineering firms for consulting. So basically, originally the department was, prior to me being here, I believe that the community development was one department with planning and code enforcement all under one umbrella. That was separated during the year that I came in, or prior to my accepting the position. Since then, the prior town manager did merge those two functions back into one after the retirement of a long-term employee, which did, in last fiscal year, did save the town well over $100,000. That was his salary and plus benefits. I'm sure he was at close to $150,000. And then the other thing is that the department did acquire 2 new electric vehicles, which is primarily utilized for code enforcement and assessing, but they're also available for any town employee to use. Basically, a few things in FY27 is the vehicle maintenance. We had to increase that line because it was in at $1,000, which is what our deductible is. So we went from 1 vehicle to 3 vehicles. So we do need to have $3,000 in there in the event we need to use that each year. That also would be if we don't use that money. You know, this year we didn't have to use the $1,000 that we had in our vehicle line, but we did have to buy new tires, which was about $850 after said and done. So we're thinking that it's going to offset either deductible or some maintenance costs since the vehicles are newer. A substantial increase was due to the higher service from our engineering firm. They apparently were bought out by a larger national firm and their rates substantially went up. I do think that there has been some talk about shopping around, and I know that will be a question. I do think that we're going to be looking at doing that, but right now this is an estimation based on what the number of hours we've estimated we're going to use them and then what it's going to cost for next year. And the only other thing that we are doing is we are asking to move 1 part-time code enforcement officer position back to a full-time role due to increased workload and service demands, which is primarily, again, due to many of the updated density standards and changes that are being thrown our way. The department prior to FY26 also had another individual in it, which was a former employer who was the director of community development originally. That position was not backfilled when we combined both of those functions. So we're still essentially down, that end of the building is still essentially down a half of a position, in theory. Other than that, do you have any questions?
I'll start with Ken down here this time.
Well, my only question is, you're going to part-time code enforcement to full-time. So we got away with North Yarmouth, did away with that.
Correct.
We're putting in an ordinance to limit the building permits. Is that really necessary at this point in time to have a full-time from part-time code enforcement?
There's been a lot of work that Part of the reason why is because and it doesn't have anything to do with any proposed ordinances. It does have a lot to do with the implementation of the FEMA redoing our flood maps. And a lot of our maps are changing, and the shoreline zoning map needs to get updated. Our floodplains maps need to get updated. There needs to be a significant amount of work around that. And that just happened recently. And that's going to be one of the primary things that this person is going to be, that's going to be assigned to get that done.
So how many extra hours do you think that's going to take versus going from part-time to full-time?
Well, right now, that position is 22 hours a week. I think it was budgeted for 24.
Okay.
It's going to go to 36.
All right. And the electric vehicles that we added, do we really need 3 of those?
We do.
Yeah.
We have
So you
three.
have-
We have 3 vehicles for 4 people.
I'm actually going to tag along with that. Do you know, what's the mileage that you guys do for all 3?
I don't know what's on the RAV. We've had that for a while.
Yeah.
That's always been assigned to us. I know that these were put into service just about a year ago. It would have been, I think it was spring of last year. And I know that the gray vehicle is, it's 5,000 to 6,000 miles has already been put on that vehicle.
Okay.
So which indicates it's clearly being used. As well as the black one, I think might be at 2,500.
Okay. And, all right. All right. And what's the total cost for those vehicles a year per vehicle, all of them? Do you have any idea?
Well, in the line,
Can't
it's in the
tell.
equipment line in this budget,
Yeah.
is $9,000 a year.
For all 3, and that includes?
Yeah, that's
It includes insurance and
that's what's in my, as far as the insurance, I don't know, you'd have to ask Justine about that, if that's included.
Okay.
But in my equipment line in the budget, it's $9,000, and that's for vehicle lease payments.
Okay.
And I don't know whether that includes the insurance on it or not.
So that may not include registration, insurance,
Well,
tires,
that's-
you know.
It would only be the insurance, which would be probably through our Maine municipal policy.
Didn't you just say that we just did tires and stuff like that? What I'm trying to figure out is this, is that.
No, that's
you know-
not for maintenance, that's for payments.
Okay, all right, because the reimbursement rate's 72 cents a mile. And I'm just trying to figure out and because when I'm doing the warrants, I also see that you guys use your vehicles. So I'm just trying to figure out what makes the most sense, that's all. I'm not questioning you, I just want to make sure that we're spending our money wisely here, and do we really like mint this thing, so.
I'm gonna send you, Mike, the vehicle lease. I have it on my laptop.
Okay.
I'm gonna send you I'll send you the vehicle. I have the vehicle leases information.
All
so I'll
right, I have
send
one
that.
more question, though, to follow up with
You
this.
can,
Oh,
let's
sorry,
go, and
yeah,
then we'll
ahead.
go back
All
to you. Ann?
I don't think I have a question at this point.
Okay. Charity?
So I know you said you have 4 staff and you have 3 vehicles. Are those vehicles being utilized, all 3 at the same time, on a regular basis?
Well, one of them is, we have 2 vehicles that are primarily used by the inspections, and then there's 1 vehicle that is primarily used by assessing. We all can use them if they're available, but it's mainly because it's easier if, anybody that's done field work knows it's easier if you have a vehicle that's assigned to you, because you can leave your work gear in there or whatever it is that you need to be on inspections, so that if you do have to leave quickly for some reason or head out to something unexpected, you can, you have all your stuff with you. So usually there is a vehicle that, one person uses more than the other, but we have had those vehicles, they do get used at the same time.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I
and then-
guess
hold on.
No, it's okay, go.
Yeah, Ken.
So what threw me off when they did the audit, typically a lease is when the lease is up, you turn the vehicle back in. Well, I talked to Mo because I thought we were going to turn in the 24s and the 25s were going to be in service. And I guess we have special leases that the last payment, we make like $1 payment and we own the vehicle. So the RAV4 will own at the end of this year, I believe. So I guess I don't really see how why we need 3 vehicles, is my question. But
I'm sorry, I just want
Yeah, sure.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry, because I'm involved in this too.
Okay.
So you had mentioned, Tammy has 4 employees, I have 2.
Okay.
So there are 6 of us combined.
all right,
Yeah, so there's 6 of us and 3 vehicles.
okay.
So I did want to point that
Yeah,
out.
let's not forget
because
about that.
So you definitely need all 3. is
We
what you're saying.
definitely do use
Okay,
them,
all right,
yeah.
sounds good.
Okay,
Sorry,
thank
I didn't
you.
mean to
All right.
interrupt.
Yeah, I thank you, Lauren, for the clarification. Yeah, I was just focused on but really, in theory, the RAV was already purchased and was already in service when I started here.
Correct.
The prior manager did these lease vehicles. In the beginning, it was primarily because assessing needed one and code needed one. So basically, it's 2 vehicles that are assigned to me. One is assigned to Lauren. Obviously, they're all town vehicles. We all can use them rather than having them sitting there. You know, if one's available, yes. If Lauren's staff doesn't need it, I will take it. But in theory, one is assigned to assessing for 2 people and 2 are assigned to code for 4 people.
Well, I have no problem with it, other than, like I said, it confused me on, basically, if you have a 3-year lease, I was assuming you would turn them in.
Yeah, I didn't have anything to do with the
No, I'm
lease
just saying
negotiations.
is, basically, it was like a loan, special loan or lease, and we're gonna own the truck and the RAV4 at the end of this year. So I'll have to find out with Denise if we have the same lease going with the other 2, so. If you need all 3, that's fine with me.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the lease details.
Okay.
So my big question is, one of the things I hear from the contractors is it's hard for them sometimes, you know, and I know we're hiring someone full-time now or looking to get somebody full-time. It's hard to get somebody in there. A lot of them, it's, you know, and I'm going to bring this up and people are going to hate me, but Fridays is a big deal. Do you think that if we were open or that you guys were available 5 days a week, it would alleviate some of these problems that we're having?
Well, I haven't, the only people that I have had that have reached out to me about Friday inspections, it's mainly, the biggest people that need the Friday inspections are septic people and excavators. And in the event that they absolutely need to do something, we do try and work with them and make arrangements, even if it's late in the day on Thursday. I haven't had any complaints. I haven't had issues brought to my attention from any of those, because anybody that's contacted me, I've been able to make it work for them.
Okay, I've had a bunch of people call me, and you know, I'll get them to call you because you know, it's not my job to do.
Yeah, because I do work with them, especially, you know, especially in the winter. A lot of times we have situations where we need to do the same thing, and storm and inclement weather. Those are the most time-sensitive inspections.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because it slows down projects. Did you have anything else?
Yeah, so on the vehicles, when I do the warrants, I notice that people will put in for expenses for travel, and I just want to make sure that they're being utilized. If somebody's got to go to Augusta or someplace else, I mean, I would rather have, like, say one of your counterparts had to go to Augusta for something, or say you had to go to Augusta, I would rather have you, if all the vehicles are used, I'd rather have you take the electric vehicle and then them do the mileage here for local. You know what I'm saying?
We do have a sign up calendar that town staff can request to use these vehicles, and the invite goes to myself, and I believe Lauren goes to Lauren, and we approve or, you know, disapprove the request. So town staff has used them. They have taken them to Augusta.
Because that's something we're going to look at. And then the other thing I wanted to touch base on, and this isn't just for you, this is for everybody. We are going to really look at our contracts and our bids, and I get costs go up, but we're really going to look at it. And I know we've used people that we're comfortable with, and that's great. They can bid as well, but sometimes people get too comfortable. You know, it says, you know, you want to get 3 bids. I don't care if you get 5. I don't care if we mix it up. I don't care if you say, hey, you know, Casco and Wyndham, are you looking for the same thing? And this is, again, this is not, this is for everybody. we really need to be more creative on how we go about things. Because if we're not doing that, then I could put anybody in any role and just say, hey, go get 3 bids. So
Is
I
this
wanna
for,
make
we're
sure-
talking about consulting?
I'm just
Are you
talking about, I'm just using your example. But yeah, the consultants is,
Yep.
I understand people are gonna go up and you can say, hey, that's fine, send me your thing, just so you know, we're gonna have to go out to bid. And I can tell you, sometimes just saying that, you're gonna watch them back up. It's just like calling Spectrum, you call back and they're gonna lower your rates a little. But that's one of the things we really need to do, and we'll probably be looking at even the existing agreements we have. I may say, hey, let's go back out, let's see if we're getting the best value. Because there's money to be saved, and I'm not saying we don't have to pick the lowest person, but there's value in it. Maybe we say instead of a 1-year deal, we do a 2-year deal or so forth.
Right.
And I just want, and again, that's just for everybody. That's something that I'm really gonna look at, and I really wanna make sure that we're getting bids for work done. I'll give you an example. We just did, we just did the electrical in the building next door, is 10 grand.
Right.
I'm hoping we got 3 bids for that.
Yeah, ours is mainly for the engineering services
Yes,
for the planning,
absolutely.
for the
Again,
planning board process.
You're just my,
Yeah.
my vessel for today for that, so thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you, Tammy.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Tammy, as always.
Yeah, Kyle, you can have this
Am I
back,
hitting
doesn't
this
work anyway.
to get to the next page? Where am I
No.
going?
There you go.
To get- Is it not? Oh, oh.
Just hold on a sec.
Okay. Hi, I'm Lauren Asselin, I'm the assessor, and, let's see. Okay. So a few things changed in my budget for this year, and the projected 27 budget includes a $60 increase in membership fees for dues, $315 in personal development for training costs, $50 for the Marshall and Swift subscription. Decreases were $650 in mileage and tolls because we have those 2 vehicles to use. $1,200 in registry fees. The Cumberland County Registry of Deeds is no longer charging the town for the property transfers that they provide to us every month. So not including salaries, that's a net decrease of 9.64% in the assessing budget, or $1,425. If you include the salary, it comes up to just under 13% for a decrease. Some highlights, as Tammy mentioned, we have the 2 electric vehicles, and so there's 3 available for the 6 staff. And with those vehicles, the assessing department was able to complete more on-site inspections this year, and we are going to focus on the shorefront when the weather gets nicer for this year, and try and see what's going on out there. Because I know there has been some residents that have contacted us and asked us to come out just to verify that the property inspections that were done on-site in 2017 and 18 are accurate. And part of the job of the assessing department is to make sure that the assessments are correct. So it is important for us to be able to do on-site inspections as much as possible and get in the field. The funding for the personal development line, I am on the board of the main chapter of the International Association of Assessing Officers. I currently serve as the vice president. So that is essential for trainings that I am expected to attend, and also that I choose to attend. I'm a huge advocate of training for employees to, I believe that knowledge is power, and just my personal thoughts that any kind of training you can provide to employees is really helpful with the development of their personal, what's the word I'm looking for? Their personal development, and it's escaping me right now. I'll come back to that. But Anyway. So as I mentioned before, a few of the items in the budget is the membership in the organizations that I belong to. Those are used for networking, and we do get training opportunities at a reduced cost if we belong to those. The state of Maine does require that assessors obtain a certain number of hours of training every year, depending on their level. There's 4 levels of Maine assessors, runs 1 through 4. I'm a certified Maine assessor level 4, so I'm required to get at least 28 hours of training, including 12 advanced. And the Marshall and Swift manual is something that provides building cost values. It's about this thick, and we get updates quarterly. And if I want to see how much, I don't know, a shed would be worth, it'll tell me, you know, based on quality and grade, that a shed would add this much value, and you could do all kinds of buildings, commercial. So that's a resource for me when I'm trying to verify if we're pricing something correctly. The computer support line is for Marshall and Swift. I'm sorry, I already did that. The online GIS database and parcel viewer, that is part of the budget for my department as well, and that falls under the computer support, I believe. No, I'm sorry. The technical support line, rather. That $5,000 is for the online database, GIS mapping. We do also have a line for tax maps, which is the digital versions of the 11 by 17 and 24 by 36, as well as our updated street map that we have in the Community Development Department. I think that is the major items on my budget, so if you have any questions, I'd be happy to.
Charity, I'll start with you.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, Ann?
No, I don't either.
Ken?
I'm all set.
Vince?
Love where you came in at.
Okay.
Thank you.
I do have a question.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. No, so it looks like that we spent about $60,000 when we did the reevaluation, was it last year? When do we plan on doing the next one?
So the last full reval, including the on-site inspections, was implemented in 2018. We just did that equalization, which didn't include on-site inspections. Historically, it's every 10 years that you do a full reval, which would put us at 2028, but it's not realistic, honestly, because it is about $500,000 to do that. So sometimes what happens is we'll put some money into a reserve account every year with the intention of, you know, scheduling one out. It was 2003 we did the last full reval before 2018, so it was 15 years, which is, it's not unheard of. As long as I, as the assessor, am keeping our certified ratios at a reasonable level, I try to do it above 93 so that I can claim 100. And correcting any inequities between neighborhoods, shorefront, non-shorefront, to make sure that everybody's being assessed at the same percentage, you can push that out. You know, you don't have to. A lot of times what happens is those things don't get done, and then you end up being at 74%, and you've got lakefront at 50 and non-lakefront at 85, and so you're not meeting state requirements at that point. But like I said, if I keep up with the inspections and making sure that our ratios are equitable, then you can push that out.
Yeah, because you hit the nail on the head where I was going with that, is that I am really concerned that, you know, when we're ready, it was 500,000 last time, is it gonna be $1 million next time? And that's gonna be a huge hit. Should we come up with a date that we think and start, setting money aside for that? Because our town just can't take that. I mean, that's a big deal, so it's just something, not this year, but I think it's something we definitely need to think about moving forward, because I don't wanna get hit with a $1 million, and you don't either,
No.
or $500,000 or
You said
whatever.
the last one was what, 2000?
The last full revow was implemented in 2018. Prior to that, it was 2003 for the last full run. So if we do 15 years, for example, it'd be put us at 2033. So, we're in 2026. I mean, theoretically, if you started, if not with this budget, if you started with the FY28 budget, 60,000, that'll give us 400,000, and
I
So
hate
when the
that.
VTP is done, we'll do it.
I mean, it's just, and it's something we can revisit on a regular basis. If it starts to get to the point where we're really like, there's a lot going on that we really should consider, we can always talk about it then.
Okay. No, we're fine. I'm not asking for this
Yeah,
year,
no,
but I just
no.
think it's something we need to consider.
Yeah.
Maybe we should consider it this year. I mean, that's a lot of money, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be $1 million in 2033. If it would probably cost just under $500,000 now, like 400 and something thousand.
How much was it last time?
It's $500,000.
In 2018,
Yeah.
it was different because they did internal. They hired William Van Tynen, who's a certified Maine assessor, very respected in the state and authorized by the state of Maine. And the current assessor, John Brushwine, they worked together. They hired Parker Appraisal to do on-site inspections over a course of 3 years. I wouldn't suggest doing it that way. It was very fragmented and took about 4.5 years from start to finish. And ideally, you want to get it done in 1 year so that your on-site inspections match up with your implementation. And there's not like a 3 or 4 year lag. But there's also a limited number of firms that are actually performing those services. So, something, if you're going to plan for it, just keep it in the back of your mind, this is something we want to look at or think about.
Yeah, because I want to avoid surprises. That's
Yeah,
my-
no, I
that's-
completely understand
when you're
that.
looking at budgets, I mean, I want to look 5 years out and figure out where we need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That'd be smart, yeah.
All right. Anybody
Yeah.
else? All right, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Oh.
Hello and good evening. Andrea Casalonis, Library Director, here to go over what we're asking for this year in FY27. So a little bit about who we are. I just have our mission statement up here, and I pulled some quotes. These are things that either patrons have said to me directly or that were left in our online reviews. So we get amazing feedback at our library. I've worked at a lot of libraries, municipal libraries, nonprofit libraries, private libraries, special libraries, and I truly have never gotten such glowing feedback. We hear wonderful things every day. Our patrons are very happy with the services we provide. So a little bit about FY26. So as you know, we had some things change in our budget last year, and thanks to Councillor Farrington, who gave us a very generous donation to bolster our book budget, we were able to continue with our purchasing as planned. And then in October of 25, our major book vendor closed. Baker & Taylor, they'd been in operation since 1828. They went out of business. We had to shop around and find a new book vendor. That wasn't easy to do. We went with Ingram Services, and so we're getting the same consortial discount that we saw from Baker & Taylor. We at the library get about 40% off of the price of retail cost when we order books, and that's because we're a member of a local purchasing consortium. So they were able to take us on. Ingram did not take on every library that applied, so we were really lucky to be taken on as a customer for them. So also in FY26, one of the ways that we used those funds for our collections was, we have access to ebooks and e-audiobooks, which we pay a small fee annually to the state to have access to thousands of e-resources, but I decided that with the increase of our patrons, using those, we had the ability to work with our service provider, Cloud Library, and I have started allocating a small amount of that book budget to basically you can sort of infuse Cloud Library with additional titles that are specifically for Gray patrons that aren't shared statewide. So we're just kind of, shifting how we allocate those funds. And that's been very successful. The feedback has been wonderful. We have been very savvy with our purchasing practices, so we're purchasing used items when we can. We're using donated materials and adding those to our collection. We're really eagle-eyed when we get donations in and make sure that those books get into the stacks. And over the first 6 months of FY26, we saw a 9.3% usage increase in our collections over the previous year. So in terms of programming, again, the town does not directly fund library programs. What you do fund is the staffing to run those programs. So we've had some really nice intergenerational opportunities. We're doing things that are open to people of all ages, families. We've done a great job utilizing our existing staff skill sets to launch new initiatives. So for instance, we have our head of youth services has a Master of Fine Arts in creative writing, so now he's running a student writing workshop. We're already, he's already on staff. That costs us nothing additional to provide. I myself have a background in offering some tech help, so I've increased my ability to do sort of IT specific courses for folks. Kyle Hediniak, we've partnered with Communications and IT, and he's come over and done a class at the library as well. We've added 2 genre-specific book groups, so we're up to 4 book groups. We've improved our summer reading program. The numbers are through the roof. We have higher number of students utilizing that program than ever before. And a longtime dream of ours was to do an evening film screening series. So in the fall, I stayed late on Friday nights, sometimes till 10 o'clock, and showed movies. And we had a whole new group of residents coming to the library who had never come to the library for just to see a spooky movie in October. It was great. We had a blast. So there's some changes in our FY27 budget. So I will skip on over to my next slide. So the biggest thing that we're looking for is to restore some book funds that were lost last year. I don't think that Councillor Farrington is going to be looking to give us such another generous donation. So while we've had $33,000 in our book budget line this year, we're asking for 30. So the town gave us 20,000 last year. We're looking to just go up to 30. The audiovisual collection was, that budget line was cut to 6,000 last year. We're happy at 6,000. I think that we're managing really well, especially by, we purchased most of our AV through Bull Moose, and as I mentioned, we're shopping used. We're getting whatever we can secondhand. It works just as well. And we're, again, emphasis on acquiring the used and donated materials. You'll see there's a slight increase cost in our periodical subscriptions. So I'm just asking for a very, very small increase of $100 in that line. So one of the sort of more major increases that you will see in addition to the collections budget is that we were asked last year, we had an open part-time circulation assistant position. We were asked not to fill that for 6 months of last year to save costs. We have filled that position with an exceptional candidate, but again, that cost will increase because she's now full-time employed 12 months of the year, part-time employed 12 months of the year. So that brings us to myself, the director. We've got a head of circulation and a head of youth services, 3 full-time positions. We've got 1 full-time circulation assistant position, 2 part-time circulation assistants, and 1 part-time cataloger. And having this full staff is what allows us to develop these new services and programs. So some of the things that we're improving are a reader's advisory service. I call it a reader's concierge service, where folks will fill out a form and we will select books based on their tastes for them. It's a really nice service. I'm hoping in the next fiscal year to do pop-up libraries where we get out of the walls of the library, and maybe we do a pop-up library at Town Hall or at the fairgrounds or at the Blueberry Fest. These are things that we couldn't do previously because we have been so thin on staffing that we need everyone in the building for basic desk coverage. We're working on some early literacy initiatives that I'm very excited about. So we're looking to do, partnering with a local organization who gets books donated to give to kids to keep. So we're working on, doing things like she does a book baby shower. So expectant mothers or parents can come in and get a book or two to keep and bring home, and at the same time we'll sign up their family for library cards. And increase programming for adults. So everything from, specialty speakers, author talks, craft programs, like I said, the technology and database training, that's something that I can personally help with and offer. But that would not be possible, if we're short on staff. So having that position filled has been massively important to us. I did want to touch on the main InfoNet line because I think that there's been some confusion in the past about what that covers. The line item for main InfoNet, that's not just van delivery services, that's not just the interlibrary loan services, that pays for the software that checks books in and out to people. That pays for our online catalog. So without that, we are functionally useless as a library and would really need to go back to a physical card catalog. I've looked around a little bit at what it would cost for us to replicate the services we receive from the main InfoNet in-house, and it would cost us tens of thousands of dollars to have someone migrate our data to a new integrated library system so that we could check books in and out. But we get, again, that Sierra integrated library system software. We get access to the Minerva and Main Cat online public access catalogs, interlibrary loan. They provide tools for me to gather my statistics and aggregate data and tell you how many books I've circulated each year. And they also provide specialized technology, troubleshooting, and assistance. So library software is kind of a separate entity from your standard IT, and we have a great host of resources at a state level that provide that, and it also provides a lot of free professional development opportunities. So I'm frequently assigning my staff to take webinars. Those are all provided for free, and that's wonderful. But on that line, I am still able to cut the main InfoNet line a little bit. I think previously we had a vendor change and we thought that the costs would sort of skyrocket. They haven't. So I've got a little cushion in case the surcharges go up, but I was able to cut that by a few $100s to save us some money. Questions?
Thank you. Let's start with Vince this time.
Right now, I don't have any questions.
All right, Ken?
Yeah, I do have a question. So, how much does a book cost?
So, I would say, if I go into Barnes & Noble, which I did last weekend with my mom, it's going to cost anywhere from $26 to $36 for a hardcover book. On average, our costs in the previous fiscal year, we got our items for around, I think it was $11 and change with our consortial discount.
So every year, you're spending like $25,000 per se in books. Where do the old books go?
Yep, so a lot of them get weeded. I'll be honest, once people have read the latest bestsellers, we keep them on the shelf for a period of years.
Yeah.
Typically after 5 years of no one checking them out, we weed them, and we will either offer them as prizes for giveaways and things like that, or we'll put them, we give them to other libraries, book sales, things like that. We do, there is something called thrift books where we can sort of sell back to this used book vendor. They take maybe 5%, maybe, but not very much. They pay us on pennies on the dollar for those books.
Okay, that was my only question.
All right, thank you. Charity?
I don't have any questions.
Ann?
No, I think it was really exciting to hear about everything that the library is doing and all the programming you're able to offer. I think it's just, especially for younger people now, maybe some older people too. I mean, we hear so much about them just being on their phones or being online, and offering alternatives to that, I think, is super important, and it's an important community building opportunity as well.
Yeah. I really feel that way. I think that for our library users, we're the heart of the community. We serve every population, and I'm hoping to, again, with the increased staffing, I myself can get out of the library walls and sort of do some more in-person marketing and let people know, hey, your tax dollars are already paying for this. Come on in, use our services, use our resources, it's everyone who has come into the library has been very pleased.
Yeah, and I think that, the data show that people are increasingly using the library.
Yes.
The numbers, I think, year over year have shown, there's maybe some static, around the pandemic, but generally
Yes.
it's been increasing.
Yep, we were trending downwards during and right after the pandemic,
Right,
and
yeah.
those numbers are going right back up, and we're seeing that every year.
Yeah.
I said that there was not in the first 6 months of this fiscal year, we had increased circulation by 9.3%, but over 3 years ago, it's up 25%.
Yeah,
that's
that's
massive.
awesome. Yeah.
Thank you. And one point I want to make to everybody here, if you look at actuals on 24 for full-time and part-time, I know it says change of, up, but if you actually look from 24 to 27, we've actually gone down $13,000 in 3 years.
Well, and part of that is because we were understaffed. We had empty positions. We had an open, when I left, the head of youth services, that position was open for a period of months. And that did, save us some money, but it was sort of an artificial decrease.
No, what I'm saying is you're $13,000 less this year in your budget than we were in 24. That's, with, a COLA raise and all that stuff. I just wanted to point that out. Thank you for everything, unless anybody else has any questions. All right, thank you so much. And then elections.
All right, so elections. All right, so I guess the big differences between our FY26 and FY27. FY26 is budgeted for a municipal-only election, so we're anticipating the lower voter turnout. I did throw in last year's budget funds for informational election signage, primarily aimed at increasing community awareness and participation. The voter participation trend, our municipal election turnout has increased from 747 voters in 2022 to 1,454 in 2025. So participation has nearly doubled in the last 4 years, even with municipal-only elections. So that's pretty exciting. It's pretty great. In FY27, we're going to have 2 elections, one including the gubernatorial election, and this is anticipated turnout builds on an already rising participation trend. So increased voter participation does drive higher costs, ballot printing and multiple ballot styles, absentee ballot processing and postage, and ballot tabulator programming. Additional election clerk hours are also budgeted to manage the higher voter check-in volume, process the absentee ballots, and complete required end-of-night post-election reconciliation. Oh, I feel like I missed one. Okay, FY27 is adding funding for additional secure storage, supporting ballot security and chain of custody requirements, increased volume of ballots and election materials in compliance with state election standards. Planned expenses also include off-cycle election readiness and staffing and materials necessary to meet statutory requirements. And again, elections are a non-discretionary municipal function, so we don't have a choice, we have to fund it. Questions?
Ian, do you have any questions?
I don't.
Charity?
I don't.
Vince?
How much you can do?
Non-discretionary.
Ken?
I think they do a good job.
Yeah, I do too.
I guess my only question is on the per diem, is that because,
For 27 for staffing?
yeah. Yeah, so are we hiring people or what, or?
So our election clerks are paid election workers. They get paid the minimum wage.
Okay.
Except for our warden and if we have a deputy registrar for that. So our warden is generally Sue Croft. We'll be presenting her again for your considerations shortly. But for bigger elections, depending on what's going on, like at our presidential election, we had just over 300 voters who were either new registers or changing. So we had additional workers work those tables. And it wasn't just our clerk staff because we have to rotate out. So those people who are doing the more intense items, they are getting paid a little bit more.
Okay.
Like $16 an hour, not minimum wage, but.
Yeah.
And this year we are also holding a required training, which we have to hold every other year. And again, we'll pay our election clerks for that too. So that's going to be about 2 hours for 20 plus individuals. So.
Okay. I thought they were volunteers, so no, that's, I
No,
didn't know that.
we pay them. We pay them and we feed them.
Right.
So.
And then when you do that, you pick an equal amount from both parties, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
It's gotta be 50/50.
Yep, so our statutory requirements require a 50-50 split. I can have one extra. You might hear me refer to people as Ds and Rs. It's just faster and simpler. But we have our unenrolled Green Independents. We have those other parties, Libertarians, where they can help me equal out. So I have, say, 10 people, but 5 may be Republicans, 4 may be Democrats. Or I may have 4, and then 2 from another party.
Thank you. We're all set. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Claire Zimmerman. I'm the General Assistance Administrator. So we have a short presentation, but generally, expenses can vary year to year, which makes it hard to know what our specific need will be. You can't really know exactly how many people will be coming in asking for rent that year, or maybe it will be more need for food one year. So you'll see in the past things have kind of maybe flip-flopped. Like, for instance, you know, food will be much more in need. And this year, for example, FY26, we are going to exceed the budget for the rent amounts. It's just the way it is, unfortunately, not knowing what people are going to be coming in to ask for. And we do get reimbursed by the state 70% of all the vouchers that are given. And it depends, sometimes we do get 90% back if that applicant has a pending application with Social Security. We do get reimbursed at a higher rate for those people. So, the working hours have increased for general assistance this year because of a state law that became effective in September. It allows people to apply for general assistance during the municipality's regular business hours. So we can no longer limit our appointments to just Wednesday mornings that we historically have done. And this creates, obviously, more availability. And when people come in, sometimes you have to take their appointments on the spot, or maybe see them the next day. You can't just say, oh, come back next Wednesday. And not necessarily because of this, but in general, the number of applicants has increased. We have seen at this, when I made this, it was an 18% increase, but now it's actually 20% more applicants in FY26 than the FY25 year to date. Highlights of FY26. We had a heating fuel budget of $3,000, and so far we have spent about 1/3 of that. I was definitely expecting to be closer to the budget by now in the season, but it's just the way it is. We have 3 months remaining where general assistance allows to pay for heating fuel assistance. But the budget for propane, for hot water, stoves, comes from this line also, and it's not just limited to the winter months, so until June, if somebody were to, not have the money and they were approved for that, it would come out of that line as well. The FY26 housing rental budget is $25,000. At the time of this PowerPoint, we had about $375 remaining. Since then, we have gone over that budget based on the current needs of this year. And the only increase you'll see being proposed is $1,000 for the heating fuel line, for a total of $4,000. Any questions?
I'll start with Vince.
Yeah, talk to me about accommodations as far as when you put people up.
Yeah.
Does it have to be someplace that's like a qualified place or on a list, or can you go anywhere?
So, no, there's not a list of qualified places that the state provides. So it's really just anywhere that you can find that will take a general assistance voucher. So the first time I ever had to put somebody up in a hotel, I did have to call a couple administrators from other towns and ask them, because I didn't really know. And they told me kind of a list of a few places that they knew, but some of them stopped taking the vouchers due to just how there was a lot of people, I think mostly in the South Portland area, where they had that crisis with the general assistance vouchers, and people basically were staying in the hotels for a very extended period of time. And then the hotel owners kind of got stuck in a bad position, so they stopped taking vouchers. Currently, I only have the main motel in South Portland, the oh shoot, I can't remember the name of it, in Scarborough, Quality Inn or something like, I forget the name, I'm sorry, and then we have the Hampton Inn in Oxford, and a place called the Roma Inn in Casco. Those are the only ones that I know of that have ever said yes, that I've been given these names by other administrators calling around trying to find places. I have tried calling multiple other hotels as well, motels, and they won't accept the vouchers. And even to the point where sometimes these ones that do accept the vouchers have told me many times, we want to meet these people first before we say yes. So I've had to have it where, I have to explain this to this person and say, you have to go down there and then meet them, and unfortunately, they might say no. And then I've had, sometimes when the motel will say yes, and then maybe like a couple months later, they'll say no,
So
depending
how
on
long
the
do these
person you
people
talk
typically- How
to.
long are they typically staying? I'm just curious, how long do they, I mean, I know it varies, but.
It varies, The policy that I was taught by, the general assistance hotline where we call when we have questions, is you would put them up for a week at the most, and then you would have that kind of a evaluation with them. So you would set conditions that need to be met within that week, and then if they don't meet those conditions, they would not be eligible for further assistance. So you would say, oh, you need to search, for example, you need to search for 7 jobs or 10 jobs within this week. We're gonna reconvene and meet up and talk about that, and you have to provide that to be eligible for another week of assistance, something like that. So I've had it, trying to think of the long, maybe a month has been the longest. See, now the law has changed, and before you could put people up in a hotel for extended periods, but because of situations where that just kept snowballing, the law changed where now you can only exceed the maximum written in the ordinance for 1 month. So putting someone in a hotel is going to exceed the maximum quickly. So 1 month is the longest you would really be able to put them up in a hotel. And then after that, when they apply, you have to reapply after 30 days. When they would reapply, if they are eligible to continue getting assistance, you can only pay that maximum amount. You can't go over that maximum. So it might buy like a week, and then you really can't do anything else for them.
But the
according to
hotels
the
are,
law.
I'm just curious, the hotels, even though it's a voucher, they're getting whatever they're getting paid. So they're not, it's
The
not worried about
hotels-
getting paid, it's more worried about the individual concern.
Yes.
So it's not about the hotel not getting paid.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, interesting, okay, thank you.
Charity, do you have any
Welcome.
questions?
I don't have any questions.
Ann?
Yeah, I do. Let's see. One question I had was, what does the medical reimbursement line cover?
Well, we have people who may have a prescription that's not covered by their insurance. And if they have a prescription for it from a doctor, and they've applied for general assistance and they're eligible, then we would pay for the prescription.
Okay.
Or if it's something else,
Yeah.
you know.
What about like just medical, like going to the doctor, just to go to the doctor, or hospital costs or something like that?
Yeah, I believe that technically that may fall under, if they were for some reason in an emergency situation, they didn't have, like maybe their insurance main care was pending. It is possible, that's never come up with me. But yes, I believe in emergency situations, it would be expected that you would help. But I do find, I would have to check on that. I do find that main care does backdate a lot of their care to the date that you've applied. So like if you applied and then you're approved, it will cover. So people aren't probably gonna be in a situation like that.
Yeah, I just wonder because of the cuts to Medicaid and to the, not extending the ACA subsidies, that could be more folks who are kind of in a situation where their medical costs are, exceed what they can afford. And I just wonder if we should add some more money. Is that line item generally over, sort of utilized, or?
I've never gone over that line, but I have recently, had my first experience with having to pay to assist with that because somebody's insurance wasn't paying for it and it was medically necessary. So I could see that happening. It's just really hard to say.
Yeah, it's obviously hard to predict. I mean, I kind of have a similar question about housing, because I know the Trump administration is planning to cut Section 8 vouchers and make other cuts to homelessness assistance and things like that. So there could very well be more people who are at risk of losing their housing or have lost their housing subsidies, and just wondering if we should add to that budget line.
Yes, I initially did request more, but we, have been trying to keep things lean. So at the time when we were kind of meeting with budgets, about budgets, it was determined, maybe it wasn't necessary, but I have already gone over the budget for this year. Section 8 vouchers are not being given out since 2024, the summer of 2024. There was basically, they ran out of money at the state. So that's why no one's really getting Section 8 vouchers, new applicants.
Right, there's years and years backlog.
Yeah,
of
if you already receive Section 8, you're still receiving it, but yeah.
For now, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm concerned about. I mean, I so we can maybe, we can talk about this going forward, but I would propose that we add some more money into that, because I think with the high fuel cost due to the Iran war and things like that, I mean, I think that people are going to be struggling with their housing payments.
Ken?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
So you said that you put them up at the Hampton Inn in Oxford?
Yep.
When they take a voucher, do you get a discount from them?
From who?
From the hotel?
No, I don't think so. I call the hotel.
Yeah.
I speak with the person.
Okay.
I think I've only ever put one person up one time in the Hampton Inn, but I had to discuss the situation, ask what they had, if they had availability. They told me, yes, this would be the price.
Yeah, but it's like
it wasn't a discount.
$200 to stay in that hotel, and you just said sometimes people stay there for 30 days. It'd be like $6,000 to put a person up in that hotel.
Yeah.
Can't you find a cheaper hotel? Can somebody catch you a deal?
I mean, I wouldn't know how to go about getting a deal with Hampton Inn.
No, I mean another, another
well, yeah,
hotel somewhere else.
there are, there's the main motel.
How much is that per night, do you know?
It's around the same, I believe.
$200 a night we're paying?
It's over 100, I believe.
Yeah, it's like $180. It's like $180 a night roughly to stay in a hotel. I'm just saying, you
it's
can't.
very expensive to stay at a hotel.
You can't cut a deal with a hotel somewhere else and get like a night for $99 or.
They are not willing to do that, no,
for that clientele.
unfortunately.
Ken, I think Charity had a comment you want to jump in.
It wasn't a comment necessarily, but I was just wondering if, there was some maybe clause that could be utilized to get a discount of some sort at these hotels, whether it's, a governmental discount. That might be something to, I mean, maybe even inquire with the General Assistance Hotline.
Oh, I definitely have.
Okay.
We're all on the same page with this. General Assistance Administrators struggling to find hotels to take our vouchers. And if one person knew of a place, they would be sharing it. We have a listserv that we all discuss things on constantly. So yeah, I mean, I just don't see that hotels would be doing that. We do get, tax-free, but that's just.
I wonder if that's a role for the Cumberland County Emergency Management that we just heard about, that new position. I mean, it sounds like a little, not quite what that person is currently doing, but if the county could negotiate like a county rate on behalf of all the municipalities, I was wondering if that could help reduce the cost, you know.
I'm thinking about like, you know, there are places like, you know, if you go like towards, like Naples, you go up that way, that are like more summer-driven clientele that might have availability where they might be willing to do something. Or, I don't know if we can do this, but is there somebody that's, you know, a professional that has a setup with a secondary home that does like an Airbnb? Can we do something like that where we could put them up like local and say, hey, you could stay here for X amount of night? Can we do that?
If you
Guys,
can,
please,
yeah.
you'll
Guys.
get
Yeah,
chance
yeah,
to speak in a minute.
Yeah.
Thank you. So to wrap this up, I have just a couple quick questions. How many calls do you typically take in a year over the weekend?
In a year over the weekend?
Yeah.
Well, it's not that easy to calculate, but I think I pulled a report recently. Tammy, if you can remind me, on my, you pulled a report for me on my time clock. It was starting July, right? This fiscal year.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, sorry. So since July, I had 16 calls that were either the night or the weekend.
Okay.
I believe it was 16, so. I'm just remembering that from this report I just pulled, so I think it's about 16.
All right. Anybody else? All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna now, Tammy, do you have some? Okay.
No.
We're gonna open up to public comment. I'm not running out because public comment, I gotta use the men's room real quick. But if you wanna take over for, I'll just speak for 1 second. And,
So we're gonna do the same thing, just,
right back.
come up, 3 minutes. Anybody wanna come up and speak? Ask questions and we can, yeah. You know, we can, if we can answer them, we can answer them. If not, we'll take them down if somebody wants to come up.
I won't start timing you until you
We won't
get
start
there.
timing, just come on, Fran.
Come on, take your time, Fran.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Oops, this one, you want to see it?
Don't fall, Fran, please.
Okay. First general question is, we talked about the growth, and I haven't heard any numbers, so is there some way we can get the number of growth in housing permits, repairs, that type of thing? So that's the first question I
With
have.
regards to what, Fran?
Oh, we're growing. We understand we're growing. Am I correct?
Yeah.
And it's based on, housing numbers and, and then how many permits are taken out for construction, reconstruction,
Talking
repairs.
about the growth
Okay, hold
ordinance
on,
or permits?
You know,
Total?
I know what you're saying. You're saying the overall, like, how much have we grown? How many permits for
Yeah,
last year?
yeah.
Okay, can we
Okay.
just, do you want to just, do you have that off the top of your head, Tammy, or you want to get back? Just
It's usually like 50,
it's more than that last year.
is it?
Yeah. So remember, we have three
50
things.
to
We have the growth
60.
area, we have the non-growth area, then we have ADUs. So we have,
Yeah, I thought that we were gonna collect questions.
well, if you know it off the top of your head, it's one less thing.
No,
but
I
you-
mean, basically, I've been looking at, because due to the growth ordinance, as you all know, I know there are people here in the audience that may not know, state law, the growth ordinances are based on number of new single-family homes over past X amount of years. Basically what you do is you have to gather those numbers and then you take a percentage of them. Currently, state law is 105% of the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
The proposed state law is 130% of the past. The state law now is 105 of 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Proposed is 130% of the last 5 years. So I've been collecting data, and basically, from what I saw, just to look at those numbers, is that there was a decrease from, like, say 21 to 22, which was clearly still during the time of the pandemic. But then from 24 to 25, the dwelling units, for new dwelling units, increased by 30. So it was close to 50 one year, and then the following year was close to 80.
Yeah.
And this year, we're probably already on that trend, which is about 70. But we're not even a quarter of the way through the year. We're 2.5 months in. So, and this is calendar year, not fiscal year.
Okay.
So, and then we can clarify it, we are putting together an ordinance because of LD 1829 for the town, and what we're proposing is, and tell me if I'm wrong, Tammy, we're proposing, you can't do anything about the growth area, that's open, you can't do anything about ADUs, but all other areas we're putting a cap on, which was 130%, we came up with 53 single-family units.
Correct. Well, dwelling units.
Dwelling units. So
But those, in just to clarify for the audience, because a lot of these LD changes that are proposed also have to do with accessory dwelling units.
Yeah.
Accessory dwelling units do not count when you're doing your growth ordinance. The only thing that counts would be a new dwelling unit that would be either owned or rented. Affordable housing units also do not count in those numbers. So if somebody builds, Ken comes in and says, I want to build a duplex, boom, he's taken up 2 of those dwelling units. You build a house, you have a dwelling unit.
Yeah.
That's how those numbers are collected.
And it's gonna be 5 permits per year, per builder as well.
Yeah, they're different. Basically, you can look at the proposed ordinance, and it's in front of planning board on Thursday night for the first read for public comment if you want to read it. Basically, what it does is it limits the number of building permits that can be issued to individuals throughout the course of a year. And there's a structured way of how you administer those growth ordinances, basically so that one person can't monopolize all of those permits, because they are on a first come served basis. There's a structure, there's certain things in state law that you have to have, which obviously we have all of that. But basically, this, just so that you know the background, it came out of one of these laws that allows a 5,000 square foot lot size, which we discovered can be located in many more places in Gray, Maine than we initially thought. And so until we get some sort of handle on what these LD impacts are, the council asked me to implement this, and it's the only control mechanism that we have to somewhat get a handle on what we're going to be dealing with.
And so basically what we're worried about is when LD 1829 comes into play, they may say at some point, if you don't have any ordinance in, you can't put one in. So what we're trying to do is, with Tammy's help, we're trying to put an ordinance in place to basically try to protect the community, is basically what we're trying to do now.
Yep. So does that answer that?
No.
No?
Well,
But it's a
go
brand
on,
new
Fran.
information. Excuse me, it's
Basically,
brand
the
new.
question is from,
My thought was, I go in and I get a piece of paper from your department, and it says 10 houses were built, during this period of time. That's what I was looking at. So now we're using an ordinance to restrict how many houses permits can be issued in any particular year. So now that's going to use a different.
Well, it's gonna restrict it, Fran, but it doesn't touch accessory dwelling units, because
Right.
it doesn't touch the growth area, and it doesn't touch, if
But
he wants to give his daughter a piece of property on his land,
Yep.
and it's a gift, that doesn't touch that as well.
Right.
So, but it does control it somewhat.
I don't think we can put a number on it, Fran.
Yeah,
to be
we can't
honest
put
with
it-
you.
Well, Fran, are you asking for retroactively for the last 3 to 5 years or something?
No,
like that?
no,
Or are you
no.
looking going
I have
forward?
the last 3 to 5
Okay,
years.
all right,
I mean, I
cool.
have all up until recently, and then it seems like this concept has been weaved in this presentation tonight from the
Yeah.
different departments. So I was just kind of trying to get a little handle on,
Theoretically, Fran, it should be less.
Right. That's what
And
I
that's what we're
gathered.
trying to do. Yeah.
Now, next question. Okay. That didn't count for my 3 minutes,
It
I
did
hope.
not.
No, I just started it over.
Okay.
Just let it,
Okay.
go ahead, Fran.
They're pretty short, but, so just so I understand, economic development now's focus has been changed from searching for more businesses as its directive, and instead working with what we've already committed to in increasing that, like in the village, creating that. village concept and spending our time on that. That's already on the books, stuff that's already on the books, I guess is the better way of putting it. So is that what I gathered from the presentation?
So I think I think a couple things. Obviously.
Can we have Denise, because she's the
Oh
one
yeah,
that
go
kind
Denise.
of,
Yeah, go. I'm saying.
yeah.
Test. Basically, what it is it'll have the same direction, same focus. It's just not, you're going not going to have a full-time employee answering those questions. It's not to diminish recruitment. It's not to diminish retention. It's just to take economic development, find the priorities, and right now, it's the priorities, heavy duty, are to adequately close 2 of the TIF accounts. And because one is expiring in 2027, so we've already missed that mark for an extension. That hasn't happened. You could extend 2028, but the recommendation is to draw that down. And then the recommendation is to take your FY, well, it's 30, you've got like, I don't know, 28 years or 27 years for the downtown. That one needs to be amended so it has an extremely comprehensive development program that can be used in the downtown and anywhere else in the town. So that's the primary focus. It's not to say that if you have big business looking to come into town that you can't work with other external companies, Main and Company, that actually do the recruiting for you and just make sure that you're on the map. And so to hire a consultant to make sure that that communication's out there. It just means there's not going to be a warm body sitting in an office and doing door-to-door retention unless you contract that out.
Okay, I'm going to go on to the TIF then. I don't think, I have other questions, but you know what, I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time tonight. I'll write them up and, send it over to the council for all the other particular questions, but the most critical one that I have for tonight is the TIF. And I did some research today again, and because, I'm sorry I wasn't at the last meeting, I was out of the state. So I would have made my comments at the last council meeting. I watched it and I said, well, wait a minute. We have, the TIF was supposed to have leftover money, and I saw the presentation where we're going to be taking out around $500,000 on that Enacon TIF that'll be left over. Was that the amount? I can't remember the exact amount right now, but anyway, whatever the amount was, there were 2 withdrawals I saw around your presentation. And I said, and they was going to be put towards the village TIF. And I says, that doesn't make any sense, because the contract said, it could only be used for the TIF district itself. I called the state today, the Economic Development Department, and I spoke with them, and I am correct. Now, there's some exceptions, and one of the exceptions is if you can use it. Oh, first of all, if you want to use the funds, you have to get an amendment to the TIF district and pass it by the commissioner. So that's number one. And otherwise, what's that word? I'll think of it in a second. Basically what it means is, excuse me 1 second. I left my glasses at home, so this makes it even more difficult. Okay, so I can do an example instead of the word that I was thinking of. You can use that TIF money if, for instance, a Walmart wanted to come into Gray and say went into South Gray, which is completely out of Enacon's TIF district. And that, by them coming in, they were doing an adverse effect. That's what I wanted. An adverse effect on the village, for the proprietors here in the village, took away their business. Then you could use that money in that TIF district. In the original contract, it said the money was to be used for in-district and out of the district. What that was referring to in the original contract is that at that time, one of the town managers went and built sidewalks over here in the village. And the sidewalks to nowhere, I used to call it. And that was allowed. It was outside the Enacon parameter, and it was allowed, and that meant outside. And then the water district also, for the towers, that again was outside, but it's still part of the infrastructure terms in the contract. So you really have to talk to the lady up in Augusta, and I have her name and number, and get more clarification. I mean, it's clear to me, but and understand that what that there's more additional information that you need to know. And it's been bothering me because the last town manager tried to take money out of the TIF and says, oh yeah, the lawyers told me I could. And remember, I approached him, I said, give me the letter. He had no letter. He says, you're right. You can't take money out of that TIF. So that's where I'm at. I can go in more detail. I apologize for not having my classes.
Could you, I'll tell you what, can you email that to Denise?
I know the question, I'm just going to read you one caveat. It says, in the district and outside the district, infrastructure, including water pipes, septic sewer systems, paved roadways, acquisition of land, electrical power, street lighting, land and construction of pedestrian, vehicular, public safety, roadway improvements, sidewalk, street improvements, land and other property acquisition, construction of traffic flow, pedestrian, public safety improvements. That's an allowed, so I'm not sure who you spoke to, but I have the letter sitting right here in front of me, and it's in the Northbrook TIF. And so I'd be happy to take this offline and have a conversation. But it's an allowed use, just, it's documented.
That's why we have sidewalks in the village. And you're right, that's why we have the sidewalks in the village. But it goes a little further now that we're having an amount of money that's supposed to be left over, but now it isn't because we're going into a new TIF, a village TIF. And that's where the difference is, the distinction is. And you got what?
No, I'm saying you're at about 8 minutes. So.
Happy to discuss this further, but it's an allowed use. I'm not recommending anything that isn't.
I'll write it up for the council so that you can all look at what the information I got from Augusta too. So I did want to put that on the record because I missed the last meeting. And my other questions for the budget, I'll send over to the council as well.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Next, Judy.
I'll be quick.
You're good.
So Judy Simoneau, my only comment is the general fund balance. I'm really concerned to hear that, that you may be contemplating going beneath the required minimum amount, because I think that's dangerous territory. I mean, if we look at where we've been over the last year, we've had a lot of discrepancies on the money and everything. I mean, we paid for a fire truck we didn't have funds for. So our balances could be way off. And so I think we're going to be in a lot of danger by jeopardizing ourselves and being under what the charter asked us to be under. So I would just use serious caution. The audits haven't been done yet. We don't know what those balances are. And so I just think that we really need to be very, very careful about that money. So thank you.
I agree. Thank you.
Agreed.
Yes.
Hi there, Pam Wilkinson. I really want to strongly support having a full-time CEO position because I feel that they are overworked. Just working with plumbing and electrical, septic, the list goes on and on and on and on. And there are people that are, I think we have a 4-day week, sometimes 3-day week. And then, I really think that if we had that other position full-time, they could address some of those things that are, those days of compromise. And I really feel not only that in that perspective, but 45 years ago, I was on the planning board, I was on the council, and we needed a CEO for shoreline zoning. And we have not done that for 45 years. That it's like on the bottom of the list. So I think we need to have a dedicated CEO for the summertime for shoreline zoning, whether it's through that person or another position, but I don't think that would fly. I just really feel that we need some equity with the shoreline zoning. We need to have some, so that everybody is treated the same. Everything, when there are infractions, we can meet those, we can address them, and maybe hopefully address them before they get too far along, and educate them as to what they need to do. But they are overworked now with just construction things, and I think helping out, spending a little bit more time in the summertime with shoreline zoning, that position needs to be full-time.
And Pam, I don't know if you know this, but we voted, what was it? It was a few weeks ago, we voted to not send our code enforcement officer over to North Yarmouth. So they're staying here now. we are increasing to a second full-time person. So we are,
And you can see, you have 70 units coming this time of year, plus you have, the seasonal stuff coming along, and so the impacts, they're maxed right now,
Yeah.
and they really need to.
I agree.
have
We
that
need to
social
make our citizens a priority.
Correct.
I absolutely agree.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Pam.
Yep.
No one else? All right, thank you guys so much for coming tonight. We're going to adjourn the meeting. We're going to go into an executive session. That's all we have to do, right? We don't have to vote on it. All right, thank you guys. Have a good evening. You guys want like a 5-minute break or 10 minutes?
Yeah.